3 robbers left Eva bleeding on a dark road after tearing away her grandmother's compass. They believed she would never wake again. Then the forest answered. A gigantic black bear emerged from the trees, carried her beyond the veil, and guarded her broken body through the night. But before dawn, the bear vanished. In its place stood a scarred man with the same amber eyes, while a hidden pack argued over whether Eva should be protected or made to forget everything. Why had the forest chosen her? Chapter 1. The Girl Who Worked Too Hard. By 11 on Thursday night, the Riverside Diner carried the stale odor of scorched coffee and exhausted lives. Eva Thompson had already cleaned the same stretch of counter 3 times. Her shoulders throbbed after a 12-hour shift that had somehow become 14, yet she kept moving because stopping would only make the fatigue harder to ignore. The fluorescent tubes above her buzzed without pause, washing the room in a weak yellow light that made even the newest slice of pie seem worn out. From the kitchen window, Dora Savage called, "Table 7 needs more coffee. And Eva, you're closing tomorrow night again." Dora's tone held the brittle edge of a woman raising 3 children alone while trying to keep a failing diner alive. Eva's hand froze against the counter. Tomorrow would make 6 closing shifts in succession, 6 nights of walking 2 miles through the industrial district because the final bus left at 10, 6 nights of reaching her apartment after midnight, sleeping 4 hours, and returning for the morning shift. "Sure thing, Dora," she replied softly, because that was the answer she always gave. Work was difficult to find in Riverside, and Dora understood exactly how much leverage that gave her. Eva needed every dollar simply to keep the power running in her studio apartment. She refilled the mug of Gary Olson at table 7, a Thursday regular who occupied a booth for hours, drank 1 cup, and always left $2. He never lifted his attention from his phone while she poured. Eva had stopped waiting for gratitude a long time ago. Being overlooked was safer anyway. The diner was almost empty now. Gary remained in his usual seat. A young couple occupied the corner booth, too absorbed in one another to see anything around them. And at another table sat 3 men who had entered an hour earlier and had watched Eva ever since. She had sensed their attention the moment they arrived. The man wearing the leather jacket was Travis Cook, according to the card he had slapped onto the table, his mouth curved in a smile that never reached his eyes. Beside him sat Elmer Kerr and Lel Rutherford, 2 men who appeared to have learned early that intimidation and physical size could open any door. "Hey, sweetheart." Travis snapped his fingers at Eva as though calling an animal. "We need the check." Her jaw tightened, but her face remained unreadable when she approached. The first rule of service work was simple. Never show men like that they had unsettled you. She removed the bill from her apron and set it down while keeping herself beyond easy reach. Travis's hand flashed out before she could move away. His fingers closed around her wrist with enough pressure to hurt, though not enough to make a public scene seem justified. Men like him understood that line perfectly. They pushed a little farther each time, searching for the point where resistance began. "Pretty necklace," he said, rubbing his thumb over her pulse while staring at the silver compass against her collarbone. "Looks old. Maybe valuable." "It isn't," Eva answered, trying to pull free. "It only means something to me." Elmer leaned closer, bringing the smell of cigarettes with him. "Funny thing about sentimental objects. They're usually worth the most. My ex-wife said the same thing about her engagement ring before she tried to sell it." Lel gave a thick, unpleasant laugh that sent a chill over Eva's skin. "Let me go," Eva said, stronger this time. The couple in the corner had already left. Gary remained fixed on his screen. Dora was somewhere in the back, likely counting inventory. Eva stood alone beside the 3 men, and all of them knew it. Travis's smile widened. "Relax, sweetheart. We're only being friendly." He released her without warning, forcing her to stumble backward. "We'll pay with cash." Then his tone changed. "There's one problem. We're a little short. Maybe you can cover what's missing. Consider it a favor between friends." Eva's heart struck hard against her ribs. She understood the choice he was forcing on her. Refusing might anger them. Agreeing would mark her as someone they could exploit again. "I can't do that," she said. "The register is counted after every shift." The smile vanished from Travis's face. "That's disappointing. Very disappointing." He rose slowly, and Eva moved back on instinct. He stood at least 6 inches taller than she did, broad enough to block the light. Elmer and Lel stood beside him, closing around him like a pair of wolves. Travis finally pulled a crushed bundle of bills from his pocket and tossed it onto the table. "You know what? Keep whatever is left. But do me one favor, sweetheart. Be careful on your walk home. This neighborhood can be dangerous after dark. There are a lot of bad people nearby." The warning was unmistakable. Eva gathered the money with trembling fingers and did not bother counting it. She wanted only to see them leave. They eventually did, though Travis paused close enough for his cheap cologne to overwhelm her before he murmured, "See you around, Eva." For one terrible second, she wondered how he knew her name. Then she remembered the stitched name tag above her heart. An hour later, she locked the diner and stood outside, facing the dark road that led home. Streetlights in that part of Riverside served more as decoration than protection. Half had been broken for months, and the city claimed there was no money to repair them. Abandoned warehouses and closed auto shops lined the industrial district. After midnight, the entire area became empty and silent. Eva threaded her keys between her fingers as women were always advised to do, though she knew a brass key would not stop a determined attacker. The compass at her throat seemed heavier than usual, almost as if it were urging her back toward the locked diner and its bright lights. "Trust your instincts," she whispered, hearing her grandmother's final advice in her memory. Every instinct she possessed told her to call a taxi she could not afford, sleep in the storage room, or choose anything except walking home alone. But rent was due in 3 days, and Eva still lacked $40. She could not waste a single cent, so she began the journey. The first mile was always the worst, curving through warehouses whose shadows appeared to breathe against the pavement. She kept her pace quick, her gaze forward, and her keys ready. She had followed this route dozens of times before. Eva knew every pothole and every corner with a blind space where she might hide or run. Halfway through the second mile, the sound of an engine reached her from behind. A car approached at a slow pace, its motor humming like the satisfied growl of a predator. Her breath tightened, but she refused to look back. That was the second rule of walking alone at night. Never reveal that you have noticed someone following you. Sometimes men lost interest when they received no reaction. These men did not. A battered sedan with dark windows and a damaged bumper pulled level with her. The passenger glass lowered, revealing Travis Cook and the same cold smile. "Eva, what a coincidence. We're going your way," he continued. "Want a ride?" Eva kept walking. "No, thank you. I'm nearly home." From the driver's seat, Elmer called, "Come on." "Don't act like that. It's late, and a pretty woman shouldn't be out here by herself." The sedan remained beside her, matching every step. Her apartment was still half a mile away. That meant half a mile of open road with no place to disappear, and no one close enough to help. Her phone sat inside her bag, but calling the police offered little comfort. They might need 10 minutes to arrive, assuming they came at all. Riverside officers rarely hurried for a woman being followed in the dark. "We're trying to help," Travis said, the false warmth leaving his voice. "Don't be rude, Eva. We're being nice." Eva stopped, and the car halted with her. She knew this was the moment when one wrong decision could turn danger into disaster. Facing the vehicle, she tightened her hold on the keys. "I appreciate the offer, but I'm fine. Have a good night." Then she turned away and walked faster, her heartbeat pounding against her chest. Car doors opened behind her. "Hey!" Travis no longer pretended to be friendly. "We're speaking to you." Eva ran. She covered perhaps 20 feet before someone seized her from behind and dragged her backward with enough force to empty her lungs. Her body slammed onto the road. Rough asphalt tore the skin from her palms as her keys scattered into the darkness. "Damn it, you stupid bitch," Lel growled above her. "We were trying to be nice." Eva attempted to crawl away, but Elmer moved into her path. Travis came around more slowly, his earlier smile replaced by something crueler. "The necklace," he said, extending one hand. "Give it to me, and we'll leave." Eva covered the compass with both hands. "Please. It's the last thing I have from my grandmother. It isn't worth anything, I swear." Travis drove his boot into her ribs before she finished. Agony burst through her chest, hot and consuming. She folded around the pain, while hands tore at her throat and snapped the chain. "Not worth anything?" Travis raised the compass beneath the nearest streetlight and studied it. "Silver is silver, sweetheart, and you forced us to work for it." Another kick struck her stomach, followed by another. Eva protected her head and curled as tightly as she could, but 3 men surrounded her. They were too large, too strong, and she felt unbearably small beneath them. Eventually, the separate blows became impossible to distinguish. The pain merged into one unbroken wave. Blood filled her mouth and coated the air with a metallic smell. Through the haze, she heard someone say, "Let's go, she's finished." Footsteps receded. A car door slammed. The engine roared, then faded, leaving silence behind. Eva remained on the freezing asphalt, injured and bleeding, while her eyes drifted toward the sky. The stars were visible that night. There were thousands of them, bright, cold, and impossibly distant. Eva had never known Riverside held so many stars. The factory lights concealed them from the window of her apartment. As her vision weakened, one strange thought passed through her mind. She was dying, and all she could think about was the sky. Her grandmother's voice returned one final time. "Trust your instincts, Eva. They'll keep you safe." Eva stared upward and whispered, "I'm sorry, Gran. They weren't enough." Darkness gathered along the edges of her sight, soft and almost comforting. She stopped resisting and allowed herself to sink into it. One simple thought remained. At least it was over, but Eva was wrong. Somewhere beyond the road, deep inside the forest, something ancient and immensely powerful had heard her scream, and it was already coming for her. Chapter 2. The Beast in the Dark. Warmth was the first sensation to reach Eva. It was not the sterile heat of a hospital or the dry air from an apartment radiator. This warmth felt alive and primitive, as if something breathing had wrapped itself around her and refused to let the cold take her. The next realization was even harder to accept. She was alive. Eva remembered the road, the blood, and the darkness closing over her, so waking again felt impossible. Her eyelids lifted slowly. For a few disoriented seconds, she believed the scene around her had to be a hallucination. The asphalt and distant stars were gone. Towering pine trees surrounded her instead, their upper branches disappearing into the night. Moss and fallen needles softened the ground beneath her. The air carried rain, damp soil, and a wild scent she could not identify. Eva attempted to raise herself and regretted it immediately. A blade of pain cut through her ribs and stole her breath. Her body felt bruised from head to toe, and even the smallest movement sent agony through her nerves. Biting down on a whimper, she managed to support herself on one elbow. Her diner uniform had been torn open in several places and was stiff with blood, but the wounds had stopped bleeding. Someone, or something, had removed her from the road and carried her into the forest, far from the place where the robbers had abandoned her. "Hello?" The word emerged weak and rough. "Is anyone there?" No answer came. There were no birds, no insects, and no other signs of waking life. Eva heard only wind moving through the pines and water flowing somewhere beyond the trees. Her pulse began to pound against her injured ribs. Surviving was a miracle. Surviving alone in an unknown forest with no memory of how she arrived was something else entirely. She tried to stand, but her body rose only a few inches before both legs failed. A fresh burst of pain tore through her ankle. It might have been twisted or broken, she could not tell. Eva fell back onto the moss with a strangled cry, tears spilling over her cheeks. The situation was not merely bad, it was catastrophic. "Help!" She forced the shout out again, louder, although drawing enough air into her lungs made her ribs burn. "Please, somebody help me." Then a sound rolled through the darkness and froze every part of her. It came from beyond the trees, low and heavy, vibrating through the earth like a warning. It was deeper than an ordinary growl. The sound resonated inside her chest and awakened a fear older than thought. Eva knew what it meant without needing experience. Every human carried that understanding somewhere in the body, the ancient recognition between prey and predator. A bear was nearby. Branches shifted in the undergrowth. Eva's stunned mind finally began to work. Running was impossible. Fighting would be useless. Her only hope was to make herself small and pray the animal was not hungry. But when the creature stepped from the shadows, it did not move like something searching for food. It was enormous, easily 8 feet tall when it rose onto its hind legs. Its coat was so dark that the moonlight seemed to disappear inside it. Amber eyes glowed faintly beneath the heavy brow, and those eyes rested on Eva with an intelligence no wild animal should possess. A bear was not supposed to study a person as though considering a decision. It was not supposed to look as if it already knew her. Eva could not even force out a scream when the animal dropped to all fours and advanced. Despite its size, each step landed without a sound. Paws as broad as dinner plates crossed the forest floor without disturbing the needles. The bear stopped 3 feet away, and Eva became certain that death had found her for a second time. This time, however, she was awake enough to understand every second. The bear lowered its scarred head until its face was level with hers. Hot breath touched her skin, yet it carried none of the rotten odor she expected. She saw gray hairs around its eyes, old scars crossing its muzzle, and nostrils widening as it examined her scent. "Please," Eva murmured. There was nothing else she could say. "Please, don't." The bear released a noise somewhere between a huff and a wounded whine. Then it performed an action that destroyed what remained of Eva's understanding of nature. It bowed. Not a slight lowering of the head, but a complete and purposeful bow, like a knight kneeling before a queen. Its front legs folded, and its nose nearly touched the earth. The creature remained lowered for several seconds before rising. It walked a short distance away and sat with its back toward Eva, placing its enormous body between her and the deeper forest. She stared at it, unable to make sense of what she had witnessed. Bears did not bow to human beings. They did not take protective positions beside injured strangers either, and they certainly did not show concern. The idea forming in Eva's mind belonged in fantasy novels and frightening stories told beside campfires. Yet she had already believed herself dead once that night. The border between possible and impossible no longer felt as solid as it once had. "Did you?" She swallowed against the pain. "Did you bring me here?" One of the bear's ears turned in her direction, proving it had heard. It did not look back or abandon its place between Eva and the shadows. Her thoughts moved through the attack, the darkness, and her awakening miles from the road with wounds that had somehow stopped bleeding. Nothing in nature explained the creature in front of her. "Thank you," Eva finally said. Whatever it was, it had saved her life, and gratitude felt like the only response she understood. "I don't know what's happening, but thank you." The bear's shoulders lifted and dropped in a motion that resembled a tired human sigh. New tears slipped down Eva's face, though they came from neither pain nor terror. They came from the crushing relief of still being alive and of no longer being entirely alone. At some point, consciousness left her again. When her eyes opened the next time, gray pre-dawn light filled the forest, softening the edges of every tree. The bear had vanished. A man stood near a narrow stream about 20 feet away. He crouched beside the water, washing blood from his hands, bare-chested despite the morning cold. Even from where Eva lay, she could see the strength in his body. His shoulders were broad, his waist lean, and his arms carried the hard muscle of labor rather than carefully shaped vanity. Dark, unkempt hair fell beyond his shoulders. He shifted his head, and Eva caught his profile. A straight nose, a powerful jaw, and amber eyes identical to the ones she had seen in the darkness. She rejected the thought immediately. The bear had left. This man must have heard her calling and come to investigate. That explanation was rational, but the evidence around him was not. His jeans were torn and marked with dirt, as if he had spent the night moving through the woods on hands and knees. Tufts of black fur lay scattered near the stream, matching the bear's coat exactly. When he rose, Eva saw dozens of scars crossing his chest and abdomen. Those scars told the story of a life filled with violence. The man turned fully, and his gaze met hers. The amber color was unmistakable. So was the old, inhuman intelligence behind it. "You're awake," he said. His voice was rough, like speech was something he rarely practiced. He did not sound threatening, but he was not warm. He sounded cautious and watchful. "Good. I wasn't certain you would survive the night." Eva opened her mouth twice before any words came. "You're the bear." She did not ask it as a question. Somewhere beneath reason, she already knew. The man studied her for a long moment, then gave one short nod. "My name is Jared Eastman, and yes, I carried you here after those men left you to die." "That can't be true," Eva replied automatically, even while staring at the fur beside him. "People don't become bears. That isn't something that happens." Jared approached with slow, controlled steps, behaving as if Eva were the frightened animal. "You've spent hours bleeding on sacred ground, Eva Thompson. You crossed a boundary most humans never learn exists. Believe me when I tell you that the word impossible covers far less than you think." Anger began cutting through Eva's shock. "How do you know my name? Were you following me? Watching me?" Jared pointed toward the torn fabric over her chest. "Your name tag. And no, I wasn't watching you. I heard your screams from 3 miles away." He stopped, and an emotion she could not identify crossed his face. "I heard them, and I couldn't ignore them." Eva tried to push herself upright. Pain spread across her ribs, and Jared crossed the distance in 2 strides, reaching out to keep her from falling. His hands were strong but remarkably careful. His skin felt almost feverish against her cold body. "Don't," he ordered. 3 ribs are broken, your ankle is badly sprained, and you probably have a concussion. Moving now will only make things worse." Eva fought through the nausea rising in her stomach. "I need a hospital. I have to report the attack." Those men are already gone," Jared cut in, his face growing darker. "And I strongly advise you not to contact the police." Eva stared at him. "Why?" "They robbed me, beat me, and left me for dead." Jared eased his hands away and settled back on his heels. "How will you explain surviving? How will you explain being 5 miles inside protected forest, with injuries severe enough to kill you? How will you describe the thing strong enough to carry an adult woman through dense undergrowth without leaving a trail?" Eva's throat dried. Every question was valid. Any statement she gave would invite more questions, and she possessed none of the answers. She would either be treated as delusional or expose Jared and whatever he was. "Then what am I supposed to do?" she asked, ashamed of how small her voice sounded. "Pretend none of this happened?" Something in Jared's expression softened. "I'm telling you that your life has become much more complicated. Running back to the ordinary world while you stand between 2 realities could be dangerous. Dangerous for you and for," he hesitated, "for others like me." Eva's heartbeat quickened. "There are more people who turn into bears?" "Not only bears," Jared answered, "and not exactly people. This forest and the land surrounding it belong to something ancient, something that lives in the spaces between your world and ours. We call that boundary the Veil. And you, Eva Thompson, crossed through it while covered in blood and desperation." Jared rose to his full height, towering over her. For the first time, Eva recognized the unnatural balance in the way he carried himself. He was neither completely human nor completely animal. He was something that had learned a human form without ever forgetting the beast beneath it. Jared's amber gaze held hers. "What matters now is whether you can survive what comes next." Chapter 3. The Pack's Law. During the next 2 hours, Eva discovered that the meaning of impossible could change very quickly. Jared vanished among the trees to inspect the boundary, or scout the perimeter, as he called it. Whatever the phrase meant, it left her alone with aching injuries and thoughts that refused to slow down. She attempted to use her phone and found the screen destroyed, likely when her body struck the road. There was no way to call for help, no transportation home, and no clue where she was. Her only guide was a stranger who claimed he could become a bear, while the surrounding forest carried the unnerving sensation of watching her breathe. Jared did not return alone. Voices reached Eva first, low and guarded as they traveled through the trees. 5 people emerged from the shadows behind him, and the way they moved made her breath catch. Their steps were too smooth and too quiet for bodies that obviously held so much strength. They seemed capable of walking upright, but not entirely comfortable doing it. There were 3 men and 2 women, dressed in practical outdoor clothing, worn by weather and use. The youngest appeared to be in the early 20s, the oldest perhaps in the late 40s. Every one of them carried the same barely restrained wildness Eva had seen in Jared, as though something primal lived just beneath human skin. They studied her like a dangerous problem requiring an immediate answer. "You brought her here?" A silver-blonde woman in her 30s stepped forward. Her hair was pulled into a severe braid, and her storm-gray eyes fixed on Jared with enough cold fury to freeze water. "You brought a human to the den? Have you lost your mind?" Jared's shoulders moved back and his chin lifted. Authority settled over every line of his body. "She was dying, Stephanie. What did you expect me to do? Leave her beside the road for scavengers?" "Yes." Stephanie's hands curled into fists. "That is exactly what the law required. We do not interfere in human matters. We do not reveal ourselves. And we certainly do not bring injured humans into our territory." Jared's voice lowered. "Those laws were written for ordinary circumstances. This situation was not ordinary." A lean man with copper-colored hair spoke from beside Stephanie. His eyes resembled molten gold, and he appeared younger than Jared, perhaps in his middle 20s. Unlike Stephanie, he watched Eva with curiosity, instead of open hostility. Every rule-breaker believes his circumstances are special. He looked Eva over. "Although I have to admit, boss, she looks terrible." "What happened?" "A robbery," Jared answered. 3 men stole her necklace and tried to make certain she could never identify them. Stephanie's skepticism sharpened. "And you happened to be close enough to hear her? Close enough to reach her before she bled to death? Convenient." An emotion crossed Jared's face too quickly for Eva to recognize. It might have been guilt, anger, or both. "I was hunting along the eastern ridge. The wind carried her scent." "Her scent?" The youngest woman spoke for the first time. Her skin was dark, her eyes gentle, and her soft voice seemed almost out of place within the tension. "Jared, human blood cannot be detected from that distance. Not unless—" She left the sentence unfinished, but everyone understood its meaning. Not unless Eva's blood held some importance. Not unless Eva herself mattered. "Would someone please tell me what is happening?" Eva demanded. Her voice sounded stronger than she felt, and every face turned toward her. "I am injured and terrified, and all of you are discussing me as though I cannot hear you. The least you can do is explain what the hell is going on." Silence followed. Then the copper-haired man gave a genuine laugh, breaking a small part of the tension. "I like her," he said to Jared with a grin. "She has courage. Most humans would still be screaming, unconscious, or both." Jared's warning look settled on him. "Most humans have not endured the night she has, Todd. And she is right. She deserves answers." Stephanie's reply came immediately. "She deserves to forget every second of this. Call Rebecca. Rebecca can erase the girl's memory. Then we leave her at a hospital and say she survived a car accident or a robbery. It is clean, simple, and safe." Cold spread through Eva. "You can erase memories?" The younger woman crouched until she was level with Eva, moving with deliberate care. "Our healer can do many things. My name is Terry Cross. I know this is overwhelming, but we are trying to protect you as well as ourselves." Eva looked from Terry to the others. "By forcing me to forget?" Stephanie's gray eyes burned. "Would remembering be better? Do you want to spend your life knowing monsters are real and that we exist in the shadows beside your world? We obey laws you cannot understand to preserve a peace you never knew you depended on." "Ignorance is a gift," Stephanie finished. "Then I do not want your gift," Eva answered, despite fear tightening her throat. "I want the truth." Stephanie's tone went flat. "The truth destroys humans who cross the veil. You cannot unsee what you have seen or unknow what you have learned. Once our world touches yours, it never releases you completely. Then erasing my memory is already pointless, Eva shot back. I watched Jared change. I saw... Her voice failed. I saw something impossible. Even if you remove the memory, some part of me will know something is missing, won't it? Terry and Todd exchanged a look that carried an entire conversation without words. She has a point, Todd admitted. The veil leaves traces. Rebecca's magic could remove the memory, but dreams would remain. So would nameless fear and the sense that she had lost something important. That is still better than knowing, Stephanie insisted, though certainty no longer filled her voice. Jared had remained silent until then. He crossed to Eva and lowered himself beside her, searching her face with amber eyes so intense that she forgot to breathe. I need to ask you one question, and I need an honest answer. Can you give me that? Eva nodded. Before tonight, did you ever feel watched? Not the ordinary fear of walking alone. Did you feel as if something was paying attention specifically to you? The question seemed absurd until Eva truly considered it. She remembered evenings when unseen eyes appeared to follow her from the diner. She remembered recent dreams of dark forests, amber eyes, and a distant voice calling her name. She remembered how her grandmother's compass had grown strangely heavy during the weeks before Ernestine died, as though pulling Eva toward a place she could not see. Yes, she whispered. I told myself I was paranoid because of the neighborhood and the late shifts. But yes, I felt it. Jared's expression hardened. He rose and faced the others, once again carrying the unquestioned authority of a leader. This was not coincidence. Someone targeted her. Those human attackers were not the only threat. Something else wanted Eva isolated, injured, and helpless. Stephanie sounded uncertain now. That is impossible. The treaty still stands. No one would risk breaking it. The treaty is 60 years old, Jared replied. Some who signed it are dead, and the living cannot enforce every promise forever. There are younger shifters now, hungrier ones. Some believe old laws have no authority over them. Todd's casual manner disappeared, replaced by a dangerous focus. You think someone hired those men? Jared chose his words carefully. I think Eva's grandmother left more than a compass. She left a legacy, and someone wants that legacy buried with her granddaughter. Eva's thoughts spun. What could my grandmother possibly have to do with this? Jared never had the chance to answer. Terry's head snapped toward the north, and her entire body became rigid. We have company. They are moving fast. At least 6, maybe more. Every member of the group reacted instantly. Todd and the 2 unnamed men spread into a defensive half-circle around Eva and Jared. Stephanie's anger vanished beneath cold discipline as she moved beside Terry. Jared reached toward Eva. Can you stand? I do not think so, she admitted, hating the weakness in her voice. My ankle. Before she completed the sentence, Jared bent and swept her into his arms, as though she weighed almost nothing. The movement pulled a gasp from Eva, partly from pain and partly from the heat pouring from Jared's body. He felt feverish, as if a fire burned beneath his skin. Hold on to me, he commanded. Whatever you see or hear, do not scream. Sound travels differently inside the veil, and right now silence may keep us alive. What is coming? Eva asked, locking her arms around his neck. Jared met her gaze, and for the first time she saw genuine fear in him. It was not fear for himself, it was fear for her. Hunters, he said, and they are not hunting deer. Around them, the forest began to change. Morning light faded while the shadows lengthened, even though sunrise waited above the canopy. The temperature dropped into something colder than winter, a chill that felt fundamentally unnatural. Then howls rose in the distance. They did not belong to ordinary wolves. The sounds made a wolf's cry seem gentle by comparison. Every instinct inside Eva demanded that she run, hide, and place as much distance as possible between herself and whatever was approaching. Jared drew her more tightly against him. They are here, he murmured, and they brought the pack. The howling grew closer, and horror spread through Eva as she understood one thing with certainty. The creatures were not merely entering Jared's territory. They were coming specifically for her. Chapter 4. The Alpha's Burden. The hunters slipped through the tree line like figures shaped from smoke. 8 of them entered the clearing without a sound. They all wore human bodies, yet they moved with the exact coordination of animals trained to hunt as one. Their dark clothes swallowed the weak morning light. Amber, green, and ice blue eyes glowed with an unnatural brightness. Still, the man at their front was the one who stole Eva's breath. He stood even taller than Jared. Silver hair touched his shoulders, framing a handsome face as cold and remote as a winter mountain. His eyes were so pale they appeared almost white. When his attention settled on Eva, she felt as if he were cutting her open and examining every secret inside. Jared Eastman, the stranger spoke with smooth refinement and an accent Eva could not identify. How unexpected to discover you so far from your den, and carrying such unusual company. Jared's hold tightened almost imperceptibly. When he answered, his voice remained perfectly controlled, revealing none of the weakness the other man seemed determined to find. Elmer Kerr. I would call this a pleasure, but neither of us would believe that lie. Why has the Northern Pack entered my territory? Eva's thoughts stumbled over the name. Elmer Kerr. One of the robbers had carried the same name, yet this man bore no resemblance to the brute who had kicked her on the road. This Elmer was polished and powerful, commanding the clearing with the confidence of someone born into generations of authority. Your territory? A blade-like smile crossed his face. How presumptuous. These lands belong to the Vale. We occupy them only through agreement. Or have you forgotten the treaty? Jared's reply remained even. I have forgotten nothing. That is why I am asking why 8 armed members of your pack crossed our boundary to hunt without warning the local alpha. That violates several territorial accords. Elmer tilted his head, though his nearly white eyes never left Eva. Does it? Fascinating. I believed those same accords forbade sheltering humans inside den grounds, especially humans carrying the scent of... He paused and drew a deep breath. Old magic. Extremely old magic. Magic that should have vanished decades ago. Jared's body went rigid around Eva. Every member of his pack adjusted position, not openly attacking but ready to do so. Stephanie's earlier anger toward Eva disappeared beneath cold calculation as she measured the Northern Pack's numbers and placement. The woman was attacked, Jared said. She was left to die beside the road. I invoked sanctuary law. Elmer's smile widened. Sanctuary law. How noble. Although I wonder whether mercy truly moved you, or recognition. The question remained between them like a drawn blade. Tension spread through every shifter in the clearing, hunter and defender alike. Eva did not understand the implication, but she understood its danger. This was the kind of accusation that could begin a war. Jared's voice dropped until it sounded closer to a growl than speech. I do not know what you are suggesting. Choose your next words very carefully. The warning raised every hair along Eva's arms. Oh, I always do. Elmer moved forward. 3 of Jared's pack members immediately blocked him. He stopped and lifted both hands in mocking surrender. Peace. I did not come to begin a conflict. I came to retrieve what belongs to the Northern Pack. Stephanie's answer cut through the clearing. Nothing here belongs to you. You are standing inside Riverside territory. You have no right to claim anything or anyone within these borders. Do I not? Elmer returned his pale gaze to Eva, sending cold down her spine. Tell me, little human, what was your grandmother called? Eva's mouth dried. That is none of your concern. Indulge me. Jared tried to stop her, but Eva spoke first. A stubborn part of her had endured poverty, exhaustion, and 3 men who left her to die. She refused to let this stranger reduce her to silence. Ernestine Whitaker. Her name was Ernestine Whitaker, and she died 3 months ago. The effect was immediate. Every shifter in both groups became perfectly still. Elmer's smile faltered for the first time, replaced by something close to shock. Jared released a quiet sound that was half breath and half growl. Whitaker, Elmer repeated. The Whitaker line. I should have recognized it. The compass belonged to her, did it not? Before those pathetic humans took it from you. How do you know about that compass? Fear sharpened Eva's anger. How do you know my grandmother? Elmer's voice softened without becoming kind. Because Ernestine Whitaker was supposed to be dead, not only in body. Her bloodline was meant to disappear with her. That was the bargain she made 60 years ago, after betraying her pack and escaping into the human world. The accusation struck Eva like another kick. You are lying. My grandmother would never. Her certainty broke before the sentence ended. Elmer's expression became cold. Your grandmother was born into the Northern Pack. She was a shifter, a guardian of the Veil, and a daughter of one of our oldest bloodlines. Then she fell in love with a human and abandoned her pack, her responsibilities, and her own nature for him. The elders gave her two choices. She could return and accept judgment, or drink a potion that would remove her shifting abilities and sever every bond to our world. Ernestine chose the potion. Pieces began joining inside Eva's mind. The recurring dreams, the unusual weight of the compass, the longing in her grandmother's eyes whenever she stared toward the woods beyond their small home. She chose my grandfather, Eva whispered. She chose weakness, Elmer corrected. To live among humans, she promised that her bloodline would end. No children, no grandchildren, no descendant carrying even the smallest trace of shifter blood. Eva's voice trembled. But I am here. Exactly. Ernestine broke her oath. Elmer's dangerous smile returned. Her unpaid debt now belongs to you. The Northern Pack has the right to recover what she stole. Her blood survives in your veins, however diluted. Therefore, you are our property. A growl tore from Jared. She is not property. She stands under my protection, and sanctuary law remains in force. Elmer answered with infuriating calm. Sanctuary law protects innocent humans dragged into our affairs through no fault of their own. Eva is not innocent under treaty law. She carries forbidden blood and stolen magic. Her existence violates the agreement your pack helped create. Stephanie cursed beneath her breath. Todd and Terry exchanged worried looks. Eva felt the balance of the confrontation shift, as though the ground supporting Jared's defense had begun to collapse. Jared spoke slowly. The treaty also allows pack debts to be resolved through formal challenge. If you believe Ernestine harmed your pack, challenge me for the authority to decide her descendants' fate. Let the Veil determine whose claim is stronger. Silence followed. Then Elmer threw his head back and laughed with genuine delight, a reaction far more frightening than rage. Challenge you? Jared, you have always been painfully predictable, noble to the point of stupidity, forever ready to sacrifice yourself for anyone weak or helpless. He came another step closer, and this time Jared's people did not block him. But you misunderstand. I have no reason to challenge you, because the claim is not yours. You merely found her first. Jared's voice became deadly quiet. Explain yourself. Triumph filled Elmer's smile. You are not her pack. You share neither her blood nor her lineage. You are not her lawful guardian. You are simply a soft-hearted alpha who cannot resist playing the rescuer. Elmer turned fully toward Eva. Would you like to know why those men chose you tonight? Why they took the compass and beat you until they believed you would die? Eva's heart struck so hard that her chest hurt. Yes. Elmer's answer came with horrifying ease. Because I ordered them to. For a moment, the words carried no meaning. Then they crashed into Eva with the force of a vehicle. You! Her voice broke. You sent them. I almost died because of you. Elmer did not deny it. I needed you frightened, wounded, and desperate enough to call toward anything that might answer. Genuine terror at the edge of death can fracture even the strongest suppression spell. Your grandmother hid you well. She buried your shifter nature so deeply that you would never discover it. Trauma, however, breaks bindings. I am not a shifter, Eva protested, though uncertainty weakened the words. I cannot be. I have never. Have you not? Elmer's eyes gleamed. Have you never possessed strength beyond what your body should hold? Never recovered from an injury too quickly? Never dreamed of running through unknown forests on 4 legs? Ernestine suppressed what you were, but she could not erase it without killing you. Now the binding has cracked. Elmer inhaled again, almost ecstatic. I can smell the truth. Wolf blood. Old and powerful. The blood of my pack, stolen and hidden for 6 decades. That ends now. Jared trembled, his form caught dangerously between man and beast. You arranged an attempted murder to damage a suppression spell. Do you understand how many laws you broke? The council will do nothing, Elmer interrupted. When I prove that Ernestine's bloodline survived, and that she violated her oath by having children, the council must support my claim. Eva Thompson belongs to the Northern Pack. She always has. No. The strength in Eva's own voice surprised her. I belong to no one. I am a person, not an object. And if I truly carry shifter blood, then I should have the right to choose where I belong. Silence fell again. Terry suddenly laughed, bright with surprise. She is correct. Treaty law states that any mixed-blood shifter raised outside pack structure may petition for membership after coming of age. No pack can claim that person without consent. Elmer's face hardened. She has not come of age as a shifter. Her nature is still dormant. Todd's usually easy voice gained an edge. It is awakening. You admitted the binding is breaking. That places her in transition, and transitioning shifters hold the same rights as full-blood adults. This is absurd, Elmer snapped, losing some of his control. She barely understands what she is. She cannot make an informed decision about allegiance. Then she requires time, Jared said. Relief entered his voice. He had found the legal path that could shield her. Time to learn our laws, her history, and the consequences of her grandmother's choices. The treaty grants a mixed-blood shifter 60 days before allegiance must be declared. Elmer repeated the number without emotion. 60 days. You expect me to stand aside while you poison her against the Northern Pack and convince her that you are a hero? Jared's response turned cold. I expect you to obey the law. Unless you prefer an emergency council hearing, I am certain the elders would be fascinated to learn that you hired human criminals to attack a woman carrying dormant shifter blood. They would enjoy hearing how you endangered the Veil, pursued personal revenge, and violated treaty provision after treaty provision over a grievance 60 years old. The two alphas held each other's gaze while violence crackled between them. Eva understood that if either moved, people could die, perhaps everyone in the clearing. A terrible part of her believed it would all be her fault, her birth, her grandmother's decision, and the curse carried in their blood. 60 days, Elmer finally said, each word bitten off. But hear me, Jared Eastman, I will watch every move. When those 60 days end, if Eva has not selected the Northern Pack willingly, I will challenge you for the right to take her. The next challenge will not be legal theater. It will end only when one of us dies. Jared did not hesitate. I accept. Predatory satisfaction returned to Elmer's face. Naturally. You have always been too noble to protect yourself. He turned away, and the Northern Pack followed. At the boundary of the clearing, he paused to look back at Eva. Your grandmother selected love instead of duty, little wolf. Will you repeat her mistake? Do you understand what her decision cost her, and eventually cost all of us? Then the hunters disappeared among the shadows as quietly as they had arrived. No one moved for a long moment. Jared lowered Eva carefully, supporting most of her weight while pain shot through her ankle. Todd broke the silence. Well, that could have ended worse. Stephanie rounded on him. Could it? Elmer announced that he intends to kill Jared in 60 days. How could this possibly be worse? Todd's answer remained practical. He could have seized Eva now and murdered anyone who resisted. At least we gained time. Eva's adrenaline began fading, leaving emptiness and fear behind. Time for what? Time for me to do what? Become a shapeshifter without warning? Choose between packs I know nothing about? Become the reason someone dies? Jared faced her. Exhaustion and determination mixed in his expression with another emotion she could not name. Time for you to understand what you are. Time to understand what Ernestine sacrificed so you could possess the choice denied to her. And yes, time to decide whether you want any place in this world. Eva frowned. Elmer said I have to choose a pack. Elmer wants you to believe those are the only possibilities, Jared replied. There is another path, one Ernestine considered before she met your grandfather. You may reject both packs and refuse the change. You may remain human. Terry hesitated. But the binding is already breaking, Elmer said. Jared cut her off. He said it was cracked, not destroyed. Certain methods can reinforce it and finish what Ernestine began. Eva would surrender every connection to the veil, every chance of shifting, and every right to pack or territory. She could return to human life, Stephanie added in a quieter voice. Safe, ordinary, free, and alone. Once a dormant shifter has touched the veil, the connection never disappears completely. Dreams continue, instinct remains. She would spend her life sensing an absence she could never name, reaching for something she had chosen never to touch. Eva looked from one impossible being to another. 12 hours earlier, unpaid rent had been the greatest problem in her life. Now she was apparently part wolf, trapped between two packs that wanted to claim her, and responsible for a debt created by a grandmother whose true life she had never known. I need to sit down, Eva said. Then she remembered she was already sitting. I need to lie down, or scream, possibly both. Todd laughed despite everything. Both seems reasonable. Let us take you to the den house. Rebecca should have the healing room ready. Rebecca? Eva repeated. Terry helped her rise onto one foot, because placing weight on the injured ankle was unbearable. Our healer, Terry explained. She can repair things human medicine cannot. Broken bones, internal damage, even curses. Eva's voice rose. Curses? Not that you are cursed, Terry added quickly. Probably. Rebecca will examine you to be certain. Eva gave a weak breath of laughter. Good. I was concerned the day might stop becoming stranger. Jared made a noise that could have been a sigh or a laugh. Eva could not decide which. When he lifted her again, she no longer objected. Exhaustion had consumed her ability to resist anything. As they traveled deeper into the forest toward whatever a den house was, she closed her eyes and attempted to organize what she had learned. Ernestine had been a shifter. Eva carried the same blood. Two packs now claimed an interest in her life, and somewhere within the chaos waited a choice that might determine everything that followed. Resting her head against Jared's shoulder, she spoke softly. Jared? Yes? Why did you truly save me? You said you heard my scream, but Elmer implied there was another reason. Jared remained quiet long enough that she expected no answer. Then he said, The moment I heard you, I recognized what you were. I knew the bloodline before I identified your scent. I also knew that if I failed to reach you, another person would. Someone who would use you instead of keeping you safe. Eva looked at him. Why protect me at all? You knew nothing about me. I might be horrible. I might be Ernestine's granddaughter, Jared finished gently. Your grandmother saved my life many years ago. Before she left the northern pack. Before any of this began. He paused. I owed her a debt, and now that debt extends to you. Eva tried to absorb that. Then you are helping only because of her? Silence stretched again before Jared answered. No. When I found you dying on that road, you were covered in blood, and still holding the empty place where the compass had rested. You looked at me and said thank you. You did not ask for help. You did not beg to be saved. You thanked me as if you were simply grateful not to die alone. His arms tightened slightly around her. No one should ever feel grateful for that. I decided then that you deserved more than the life you had been given, more than secrets inherited from your grandmother and a curse hidden in your blood, more than dying unseen on a frozen road while the world ignored you. Tears burned behind Eva's eyes. I do not know whether I can survive this. I am not brave, important, or strong. I am a tired waitress who works too much and never gets a break. Jared's answer came without hesitation. You survived tonight. You survived the attack, the truth about my transformation, this pack, and Elmer Kerr. You faced all of it without breaking. Most people live entire lives without discovering that kind of strength. You can do this, Eva, and you will not do it alone. Through the trees ahead, she saw the den house for the first time. The sprawling building seemed built into the hillside itself, half stone and half timber, its windows filled with warm light. After the night she had endured, it appeared impossibly welcoming. A woman waited in the doorway. silver streaks in her hair, and understanding in her eyes. Rebecca, Eva assumed, the healer who supposedly created miracles. Eva hoped the stories were true, because she already knew she would need several miracles to survive what was coming. Chapter 5. The Healer's Truth. Rebecca Simpson looked nothing like the healer Eva had imagined. Eva had expected an otherworldly woman, in flowing robes, speaking through riddles while strange liquids boiled in iron pots. Instead, the person waiting at the den house resembled the favorite aunt everyone trusted at family gatherings. She appeared to be in her middle 50s. Laughter had left fine lines around her eyes, and silver strands ran through dark brown hair. Her faded jeans and worn flannel shirt were entirely ordinary. "It took you long enough," Rebecca said, waving them inside with warm authority. "I felt the northern pack from 3 miles away. Elmer has never understood subtlety." Then her attention moved to Eva, and her face softened. "Oh, sweetheart, you look as if someone fed you through a meat grinder." Eva gave a weak reply. "That is close to how I feel." The interior of the den house surprised her almost as much as Rebecca. She had expected a primitive cave, bare stone, or a shelter built for animals. Instead, she entered a welcoming mountain lodge. Polished wooden floors reflected the firelight. Deep chairs and heavy couches surrounded an enormous stone fireplace. Wide windows opened toward a forest view beautiful enough to make a real estate agent cry. Yet the building was not completely ordinary. The differences were small but impossible to miss once Eva noticed them. Every doorway was taller and broader than standard, clearly designed for bodies that might change size without warning. Tables, chairs, and couches were reinforced far beyond anything human weight required. Everything looked built to survive sudden violence. Symbols had been carved into nearly every wooden surface. Spirals, crescents, and interlocking patterns covered door frames and walls. Looking directly at them made Eva's eyes ache, as if the lines shifted whenever she tried to focus. "Protection wards," Rebecca explained. "They block unwanted visitors and stabilize the veil inside the house. That keeps outside magic from interfering while I heal someone." She pointed down a hallway. "Jared, take her to the healing room. Everyone else, clean yourselves up and rest. This night has lasted long enough." The pack obeyed without argument. Todd remained at the doorway for a moment, concern visible on his face. Terry squeezed Eva's fingers before following the others, offering a smile that did not fully conceal her worry. Stephanie left last. She stopped directly in front of Jared and searched his face with storm-colored eyes. "You are truly going through with this? You will risk everything for a woman you do not know, and face Elmer Kerr in a death challenge?" "I am," Jared said. Fear entered Stephanie's voice for the first time. "He will kill you. Elmer has led the Northern Pack for 40 years. He survived 12 challenges and 3 territorial wars. You are strong, Jared, but he is—" Jared stopped her gently. "I know exactly what he is. My decision has not changed." Stephanie's jaw tightened. Eva expected another argument, but the woman only shook her head and walked away, each step heavy with anger and concern. "She is right," Eva said once only Jared and Rebecca remained. "You should not risk dying for me. We met tonight. You owe me nothing." "We already discussed this," Jared answered while carrying her along the hall. "And you are mistaken. I owed Ernestine, and that obligation now extends to you." Eva frowned. "A debt can be paid in ways that do not end with your death." "Perhaps," he admitted. "This is still the way I have chosen." Before she could continue arguing, he entered the healing room, and Eva forgot every prepared word. The room was beautiful, in a way that made the word beautiful seem inadequate. It formed a perfect circle beneath a domed ceiling painted as a night sky. Tiny constellations seemed to sparkle above them. Moss, vines, and flowers covered the walls, growing indoors with impossible health. A bed layered with soft furs occupied the center. Rain, fresh leaves, and another comforting scent filled the space, making Eva feel safer the moment she entered. "Sacred ground," Rebecca explained, while Jared lowered her onto the bed. or the closest thing we can create inside walls. The veil is thinner here. Shifter magic heals more easily near its source. Rebecca opened a cabinet and removed bandages, bottles filled with colored liquids, several medical tools Eva recognized, and many she did not. This will hurt, the healer said in a matter-of-fact tone. I need to examine every injury, including the fresh ones. I can reduce the pain, but the medicine will make you sleepy. You choose. Eva considered it. Exhaustion already dragged at every part of her, yet she had too many unanswered questions. If she slept, she could not demand explanations. I will remain awake. I can handle pain. Rebecca's expression showed approval. Tough. Good. We need more tough women here. She looked toward Jared. You may stay or leave. If you stay, make yourself useful. I am staying. The examination that followed was the most complete and uncomfortable Eva had ever experienced. Rebecca pressed around her broken ribs and checked the swelling in her ankle with practiced hands. She asked where the pain was strongest, whether Eva could draw a deep breath, and whether she felt numbness or tingling. Every answer received her full attention. Then Rebecca placed both palms over Eva's heart, and the examination became something no human doctor could perform. Warmth poured from Rebecca's hands and spread through Eva's veins like liquid sunlight. It was not painful, but it felt deeply invasive, as though the healer were reading her body from within and recording every wound, weakness, and secret. Rebecca closed her eyes. Interesting, she murmured. Very interesting. Jared's tension became obvious. What is interesting? Is something wrong? Rebecca answered without opening her eyes. Define wrong. 3 ribs are broken, but the fractures are clean and have already begun knitting. That is not human healing. She has been injured for perhaps 8 hours, and an ordinary body would barely have begun the inflammatory process. The shifter blood, Jared said. Yes, but more than that. Rebecca's hands remained against Eva's chest. The suppression spell Ernestine placed over her granddaughter is not merely cracked, it is actively unraveling. It has been weakening for months, perhaps longer. Tonight's attack only accelerated something already in progress. Eva's stomach tightened. What does that mean? Rebecca opened her eyes. Their normal brown had transformed into luminous green, shining from within. It means you have been shifting without realizing it. Small changes. Unconscious ones. Have you ever become much stronger than you should be? Lifted something your body had no right to move? Eva remembered the previous week at the diner. No one had been available to help her move the industrial freezer, a 2-person job involving nearly 300 pounds of metal. Somehow she had pushed and pulled it into place alone. Her muscles had hurt afterward, but she had succeeded. Maybe, she admitted. What about your senses? Rebecca asked. Have you heard conversations from impossible distances? Detected scents no one else noticed? Seen clearly inside darkness that should have blinded you? Eva's throat went dry. Every example was familiar. She had always assumed she simply paid closer attention than other people. She believed her hearing was ordinary, and that she only listened carefully. She believed years of walking at night had trained her eyes to darkness. Oh God, she whispered. This has been happening for a long time, but I never felt myself changing. Rebecca nodded. The changes were too small for your conscious mind to recognize. Your body kept trying to escape the suppression spell, while the spell forced it back toward human form. That balance held until tonight, when you faced death and called to the veil. Eva protested. I never called anything. Jared's voice came quietly from beside her. You did. I heard you on the road. You said, please do not let me die alone. You were calling toward anything that might listen. Fate, the universe, any power willing to answer. Rebecca moved one cool hand to Eva's forehead. Inside the veil, those powers do listen, and sometimes they answer. What matters now is how we respond. The spell will fail completely within weeks. Strong emotion or another trauma could break it sooner. When that happens, you will experience a full transformation. Rebecca's face became serious. I will not lie to you. A first shift is brutal, disorienting, and dangerous when the shifter is unprepared. How dangerous? Eva asked, uncertain whether she wanted the answer. Dangerous enough that young shifters are constantly supervised during transition, Rebecca replied. The body has no practice. Bones break and rebuild. Muscles tear, lengthen, and regrow. The skeleton must rearrange itself into another shape. The pain is extraordinary. Instinct tells you to resist, but resistance makes the process worse. Nausea rose inside Eva. You mean I will actually become a wolf? Eventually, yes. The first transformations are rarely complete. Many young shifters become trapped between forms, part human, part animal, until they learn either to finish the change or return. This is insane. Eva's voice rose despite the pain in her chest. I cannot become a shapeshifter. I am a waitress in a studio apartment. I have rent, bills, and a job that barely pays them. My life was already collapsing, and now you are telling me that I will turn into a wolf? Rebecca's answer was direct. Yes, that is exactly what I am telling you. But shifters still have homes, jobs, and ordinary responsibilities. Joining this world does not automatically erase the human one. You learn to balance both. Desperation entered Eva's voice. What if I refuse? What if you repair the spell and make it stronger? Sadness touched Rebecca's face. I could attempt it, but suppression spells were never designed to last forever. They create time for adjustment or escape. Ernestine's spell survived 26 years, which is nearly miraculous. It has completed its purpose. Reinforcing it now would be like repairing a dam after the foundation has begun collapsing. You might gain several weeks, or perhaps 1 month, but the spell would still fail. The backlash could be far more violent than allowing the change naturally. Bitterness tightened Eva's mouth. Then I do not actually have a choice. Everyone says I can choose, but I cannot decide whether I become a shifter. I only decide which pack receives me. Jared spoke after several minutes of silence. That is not the whole truth. You can learn to control the transformation, or fight until it controls you. You may understand what you are, or live terrified of your own body. Those choices are real, Eva. They still matter. Eva turned her frustration on him. Easy for you to say. You were born into this. You never lost a life you understood. Mine was exhausting and poor and painfully ordinary, but it belonged to me. Now it is gone, and everyone expects me to accept that. Jared's expression mixed sympathy with frustration, and something deeper she could not read. I am not asking for acceptance. I am asking you to survive. Those are different things. Rebecca cleared her throat. This philosophical argument is moving, but my patient still has broken ribs. Eva, I need to align them and bind them correctly. It will hurt terribly. Correct alignment is the only way they heal cleanly. Jared, give her your hand. Rebecca's warning proved accurate. Her movements were fast and skilled, but guiding broken bones back into place created agony beyond anything Eva expected. She squeezed Jared's hand hard enough to wonder whether she might break his fingers. A leather strap between her teeth kept her from screaming. By the end, sweat covered her skin, and her whole body shook. Tears escaped despite every effort to contain them. Good girl, Rebecca said, securing warm, tingling bandages around Eva's ribs. The cloth felt almost alive. These bandages carry a spell. They accelerate healing and keep the fractures stable. Wear them for at least 3 days, preferably longer. Rebecca examined Eva's ankle next. It had swollen to twice its size and was dark with bruising. After more pressure and more pain, she delivered the result. A severe sprain, but no break. Keep all weight off it for 1 week. I will provide a crutch, though staying here until you can walk properly would be better. Eva answered without thinking. I cannot stay, I have work. Rebecca cut through the protest. Your shifts can be covered. You survived a violent attack. A decent employer would grant recovery time, and an employer who refuses does not deserve you. Eva wanted to argue, but exhaustion had reached into her bones. The thought of returning alone to her tiny apartment with everything she now knew frightened her more than remaining among strangers. All right, she whispered. I will stay for a few days, until I am stronger. Rebecca's face gentled. Good. Now I am giving you something to make you sleep, and you will not argue. Passing out from exhaustion is not healing. When you wake, We begin teaching you what you are and what you may become. The medicine was tea flavored with honey, chamomile, and an unfamiliar flower. Eva drank without protest, too weary to question accepting a mysterious drink from a magical healer who discussed shape-shifting as ordinary medicine. Warm heaviness spread from her stomach into her arms and legs almost immediately. Her eyelids seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds. "Sleep," Rebecca said, her voice already distant. "The world will still be complicated and frightening when you wake, but you will be stronger, and you will not face it alone." Jared's face was the final thing Eva saw. Concern filled his amber eyes, along with something that looked almost like hope. Sleep pulled her under, and the dream began. Eva ran through a forest far older and wilder than the one surrounding the den. The trunks were broad enough that 10 adults holding hands could not circle them, and the branches vanished into a darkness filled with life. Thick undergrowth brushed her body. Rain, soil, leaves, and countless living things filled her senses. She ran on 4 legs, powerful and sure beneath her, covering the ground with an ease no human body had ever given her. Every scent carried its own identity and meaning. She heard a rabbit's heartbeat 50 yards away. Darkness became a landscape painted in silver and blue, clear as daylight. Another wolf ran beside her, larger and covered in dark fur, with amber eyes that needed no introduction. Some hidden part of Eva knew it was Jared. She also knew which direction led home, despite never seeing the forest before. They raced together, and for the first time in her waking or dreaming life, Eva understood complete freedom. No unpaid bills followed her, no double shifts waited. No man could harm her for the money in her pocket. There was only wind in her coat, earth beneath her paws, and the steady wolf beside her. "This life could belong to you." Her grandmother's voice surrounded her, warm and loving. "This wildness, joy, and belonging. I surrendered it so you could choose. I refuse to let anyone force you into a life you did not want. But you may choose it yourself, Eva. You may choose freedom." Eva woke with tears wetting her face and sunlight pouring through unfamiliar windows. For several confused seconds, she remembered nothing. Then the night returned all at once. The attack. Jared. Elmer. The pack. Rebecca's hands and her impossible diagnosis. And the dream. Eva touched the tears and wondered whether she had merely dreamed, or whether she had briefly experienced what Ernestine gave up, and what Eva might one day become. Voices moved outside the room as the pack began its morning. The sounds were ordinary: food cooking, doors opening, someone laughing. And pain remained. Every breath made her ribs ache, and her ankle throbbed beneath the bandages. But both pains felt distant and manageable. Her body already seemed to be healing faster than a human body should. Perhaps she had never been entirely human. A knock startled her. "Come in." Terry entered carrying eggs, bacon, toast, and orange juice. "Rebecca said you would wake soon. Healing uses energy, even when magic helps, so I assumed you would be hungry." Eva's stomach answered loudly. She could not remember eating since before yesterday's diner shift, which now seemed part of another lifetime. "Thank you." She accepted the tray and fought the urge to swallow everything immediately. The irony of wolfing down breakfast did not escape her. Terry sat near the bed and watched with visible satisfaction. "You have more color. Rebecca is excellent." Eva spoke around a mouthful of eggs. "She is terrifying," Terry laughed. "Terrifying and effective. That describes her perfectly. She has served as the pack healer for 20 years. No one ignores her medical orders. Not even Jared, and he is the alpha." Eva stopped with her fork halfway to her mouth. "He truly is the alpha?" I wondered whether it was posturing for Elmer. Terry shook her head. "No performance. Jared has led the Riverside Pack for 8 years, since the former alpha retired. He is a good leader. He is fair, strong, and protective of anyone weaker than himself, sometimes too protective." Affection entered Terry's smile. "He often puts himself between danger and people who may not deserve the sacrifice." Eva lowered her gaze. "People like me. People like you," Terry agreed, "although you may deserve it more than most." Facing Elmer Kerr without collapsing required courage. Many humans would have fainted from his presence alone. Eva drank orange juice to avoid answering. She did not feel courageous. She felt overwhelmed, frightened, and hopelessly unprepared. "What happens now?" she asked. Rebecca said the spell might last a few weeks. "What am I supposed to do before it fails?" Terry became serious. "Learn, train, and prepare. Jared will explain shifter culture and pack law. Rebecca will teach you what your body is doing and how the transformation works. And the rest of us will teach you how to remain alive. That is what a pack does. We protect our own." Eva responded automatically. "I am not one of you. Not officially. Perhaps not ever." Terry tilted her head, studying Eva with patient eyes. "But Jared invoked sanctuary. He accepted a death challenge for you. Rebecca used pack resources to heal you. You sleep in our den, eat our food, and live behind our borders. You have not sworn allegiance, but in every way that matters now, you are already part of the pack." The words settled over Eva with both comfort and pressure. Pack meant duty, responsibility, and debts she might someday need to repay. Yet it also meant family and belonging. It meant a place where she would not remain invisible or alone. "I need time to think," she finally said. "There is too much to understand." Terry rose. "Take time, but remember that 60 days will pass faster than you expect." She left the sentence unfinished because the ending was obvious. Elmer's return would force everything to change. Eva would choose a pack and accept the wolf inside her, or reject the shifter world and lose the protection surrounding her. She could not remain between both lives forever. The only question was, which impossible decision would damage her less? Chapter 6. The First Lesson. Eva remained in the healing room for 3 days, moving between sleep and wakefulness, while her body repaired itself at a speed that still felt impossible. Rebecca visited morning and evening, replacing the enchanted bandages and murmuring with approval whenever she checked the progress of Eva's ribs and ankle. By the 4th morning, Eva could walk without the crutch, although quick movements still sent warning pain through her chest. "You are healing beautifully," Rebecca announced during that morning's examination. A faint green light spread from her palms as she studied the injuries beneath Eva's skin. "In a few more days, you will be completely recovered. Better than recovered, actually. Your shifter blood is speeding the process considerably." Eva sat at the edge of the bed and watched with equal parts fascination and discomfort. "Do shifters always heal this quickly?" Eva asked. "Yes. Our bodies are designed to survive damage and recover fast. That ability is necessary when you regularly tear yourself apart and rebuild in another shape." Rebecca's glowing gaze met hers. "Your human mind is probably panicking because 3 broken ribs should not feel this good after 4 days. Your wolf knows this is normal." "My wolf," Eva repeated. The phrase still sounded as though it belonged to someone else. "I cannot believe there is a wolf inside me." "Believe it, honey. She grows stronger every day. I can feel her pressing against the weakened suppression spell, searching for a way out." Rebecca lowered her hands, and the green light faded from her eyes. "That is why your training begins today. Every day we delay makes your first complete shift more dangerous." Eva's stomach tightened. Training in what? Physical conditioning, controlled breathing, meditation, and anything else that can help you remain centered when the transformation begins. You also need to understand shifter history, pack law, and the political conflict you have fallen into. Rebecca gave her a grim smile. "Welcome to an accelerated course in becoming a shapeshifter. Your first lesson begins in 1 hour." The classroom was a broad clearing behind the den house, ringed by ancient trees whose branches seemed to bend inward like silent observers. The air was cool, filled with the scents of wet earth and pine. Eva shivered inside the clothes Terry had lent her. The soft jeans and flannel shirt fit well enough, though the boots were slightly too large. Jared waited in the clearing with Todd, Terry, and 2 pack members Eva had not been properly introduced to. One was a broad man in his 40s, with gentle eyes and hands nearly as large as serving plates. The other looked barely past 20, and carried a restless energy that reminded Eva of a bird preparing to take flight. "Eva," Jared said, his formal tone making it clear that this was official pack business. These are the others who will assist with your training. You know Todd and Terry. This is Norman Rose, our scout and tracker. The large man gave her a respectful nod. Jared indicated the younger one. And this is Jimmy Oyo, our newest member. His first full shift happened only 6 months ago, so he remembers exactly what this stage feels like. Jimmy offered Eva a sympathetic smile. It becomes easier, I promise. The first weeks are terrifying. But once you stop fighting the change and learn to move with it, everything begins to make sense. Eva looked at him. What happens if I never understand it? Then we continue helping until you do, Norman answered in a deep voice that seemed to vibrate through the soil. That is what a pack means. No one changes alone. No one learns alone. We carry one another. The simple certainty in his words tightened Eva's throat. She nodded, because speaking suddenly felt difficult. Then she noticed someone missing. Where is Stephanie? She asked. A guarded expression crossed Jared's face. Stephanie is handling several complications. She will join us when she is able. Eva understood the unspoken meaning. Stephanie still opposed her presence and was demonstrating it by staying away. Eva could hardly blame her. From Stephanie's perspective, Eva was an untrained danger who had brought the Northern Pack into their territory and placed their alpha beneath the threat of a fatal challenge. All right, Eva said, forcing the thought aside. She hardly knew Stephanie. Where do we begin? Meditation, Jared replied. Eva must have reacted visibly because the corner of his mouth lifted. I know it sounds dull, but it is essential. Shifting depends as much on the mind as it does on the body. You must learn to silence your conscious thoughts and hear your instincts. Your body already understands how to change. That knowledge exists in your blood. Your mind must stop interfering long enough for the instinct to lead. That sounds easier than it is, Jimmy muttered. Todd laughed. That is why we practice, Jared said patiently. He pointed toward a smooth patch of earth in the center of the clearing. Sit. Eva, take the middle. She lowered herself cross-legged onto the ground, while the others formed a wide circle around her. Being surrounded and watched should have made her uncomfortable. Instead, the arrangement felt unexpectedly reassuring. Everyone in that circle understood what was happening to her, even if none of them had lived her exact life. Close your eyes, Jared instructed. His voice deepened until Eva felt it in her bones. Breathe slowly. Draw the air through your nose and release it through your mouth. Focus only on the movement inside your lungs. Eva followed his rhythm, ignoring the mild protest of her healing ribs. In, out, in, out. Good. Now imagine that you are standing at the border of a forest. Not this forest. Your forest. A place that exists only within you. Tell me what it looks like. Eva frowned and concentrated. Gradually, a landscape appeared behind her closed eyes. The trees were immense and ancient, with trunks wider than cars. Soft moss and fallen leaves covered the ground. The air held the scent of rain, soil, and living green things. Eva recognized the forest from her dream, the place where she had run on 4 legs beside a dark wolf with amber eyes. I see it, she whispered. Describe it. Eva began to speak. At first, her descriptions came slowly. As the image sharpened, the words became easier. Jared asked about the leaves, the temperature of the air, and whether she could hear water nearby. Each answer made the imagined forest feel more solid. Step inside, Jared said quietly. Walk until you reach a clearing, then wait. Tell me when you arrive. In her mind, Eva moved between the trunks, her bare feet making no sound on the moss. The forest opened willingly before her, until she entered a clearing washed in broken sunlight. A motionless pool rested at its center, clear as polished glass. I am there, she said. Look into the water. Tell me what you see. Eva approached the pool and stared down. Her own reflection looked back, yet something was wrong. The face was hers, but the eyes were amber rather than brown. They were wild instead of wary. Behind that reflection, barely visible across the surface, waited another shadow with fur, teeth, and 4 powerful legs. I see myself, Eva said. her voice unsteady. But I look different. There is something behind me. Do not fear it, Jared said gently. That is your wolf. Your second shape. She is not separate from you. She is you, expressed through another body and another set of instincts. She is enormous, Eva whispered. The wolf in the reflection appeared nearly as large as Jared's bare form. How can something that size exist inside me? Magic, Todd answered with faint amusement. Shifter bodies do not obey ordinary physical laws. During transformation, the veil supplies energy and redistributes mass. That is why early shifts leave you exhausted. Your body has not yet learned to draw from that power efficiently. Jared's voice returned. Turn around. Face the wolf. Eva hesitated. Every primitive warning in her body insisted that turning toward a predator was dangerous. Still, she forced her imagined body away from the water and faced the creature waiting behind her. The wolf was exactly as she had sensed. Huge, muscular, and covered in fur as black as midnight. Amber eyes matched Eva's altered reflection. It sat upon its haunches and watched her with an intelligence that felt both disturbing and strangely familiar. What is she doing? Jared asked. Watching me. Waiting. Waiting for what? Eva studied the animal. It did not threaten her or approach. It simply remained patient, as though time meant nothing to it. She is waiting for me to stop being afraid, Eva realized. Waiting for me to accept her. Yes, Jared said, approval warming his voice. Control begins when you stop treating your wolf as an enemy or a punishment. She has always been part of you, even while the spell kept her hidden. Eva stared at the wolf while her pulse quickened. In the inner clearing, she stepped closer. The wolf's ears lifted, but the animal remained still. Eva took another step, then another, until she could raise one hand toward the dense fur of its shoulder. The instant her imagined fingers touched the wolf, sensation crashed through her. Eva gasped. She felt the power held inside every muscle, the precision of sharpened senses, and the fierce happiness of a creature born to run without permission. The experience was terrifying, intoxicating, and more alive than anything she had ever known. Eva, Jared sounded impossibly far away. Pull back now, do not merge with her, your body is not ready. Eva did not want to obey. For the first time in her exhausting life, she felt powerful instead of vulnerable. She felt capable of forcing the world to move around her, because she was no longer prey. Sujumani too. She was something the world should fear. Eva, Jared's voice hardened into a command. Pull back, now. His alpha authority cut through the rush like a blade. Eva staggered away inside the vision and broke contact. The power vanished at once, leaving her painfully small, weak, and human. Her eyes opened. She was back in the clearing, struggling for breath. Her hands trembled, and sweat covered her forehead despite the cool air. Jared crouched directly before her, his amber gaze locked on hers with fierce concentration. Are you here with me? Eva, look at me. Are you back? I am back, she managed, although her voice sounded rougher than usual, almost edged with a growl. What happened? You nearly shifted, Terry said, wonder filling her voice. Your eyes changed. Your hands began to change as well. She made an uncertain gesture. For a moment, I thought you might complete it. That would have been extremely dangerous, Jared said without moving away. Your body is not prepared for a complete transformation. Had you forced it, you could have become trapped between forms. We might not have been able to bring you back. Eva's stomach dropped. Trapped permanently? Until a healer powerful enough could force you into one shape, Norman explained. It has happened to young shifters who attempted a full change too soon. Their bodies stopped halfway, neither completely human nor completely animal. They remained in constant pain. Some never recovered. Oh God. Eva wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold beneath the sunlight. If you had not stopped me, but I did stop you, Jared said firmly. His hands closed around her shoulders, steadying her. You are safe. This is why we train. You must discover your limits here, with us, before you cross them alone. Eva nodded and tried to calm her heart. Yet even beneath the fear, she remembered how touching her wolf had felt. the strength, the freedom, the certainty that she could become more than the frightened woman she had always been. It was dangerous and addictive, and some hidden part of Eva already longed to experience it again. The group agreed that she had endured enough mental training for one morning. Norman brought out sandwiches and bottles of water from a cooler she had not noticed, and everyone settled around the clearing. "You did well," Jimmy said as he sat beside her. "Far better than I did during my first meditation. I could not even picture the forest, much less meet my wolf." "Really?" Eva welcomed the distraction from her anxiety. "Really? It took me 3 weeks to reach what you reached today." Jimmy bit into his sandwich and chewed thoughtfully. "My transition was different, though. I was born human. A rogue attacked me during a camping trip and changed me by accident. I spent my first month believing I had been cursed and searching for a way to reverse it." Eva blinked. "You were not born this way?" "No. Wrong place, wrong time, and one wolf who ignored the laws against turning humans without consent." Jimmy's face became hard. "The first pack that found me wanted me dead. They called me an abomination and a violation of the treaty. Jared's pack protected me instead. They taught me control, gave me a purpose, and saved my life." "So not every shifter is born?" Eva asked, glancing around the circle. "Most are," Terry answered. "But humans can be infected through a bite or deep scratch during a shift. Some are transformed deliberately, though that is illegal without council permission. And sometimes," she looked toward Jared, "sometimes the veil chooses a human, marks that person as worthy, and grants the gift whether it was requested or not." Eva's mind struggled to keep up. "The veil can choose people?" "The veil can do many things we do not fully understand," Norman said thoughtfully. "It is more than a border or a hidden place. In some sense, it is alive. It possesses awareness, purposes, and laws of its own. Many shifters spend their entire lives trying to understand what it expects from us." "What about people like me?" Eva asked. "People born with shifter blood but raised as humans. Does that happen often?" The pack exchanged looks. Eva immediately sensed that the answer carried more weight than they wanted to reveal. "It is rare," Jared finally said. "Extremely rare. Your grandmother was the last documented case. Before her," he paused. "The previous case occurred more than a century earlier. Shifters who suppress their nature and enter human life usually cannot have children. The magic makes conception almost impossible. Ernestine becoming a mother was extraordinary. Her child later having a child was nearly miraculous." "Or suspicious," Todd added. Jared sent him a warning look. Todd lifted his hands. "I am only saying what everyone is thinking. 2 generations of supposedly impossible births are not simple chance. That suggests intervention." "Intervention by whom?" Eva demanded as fresh anxiety rose. "We do not know," Jared admitted, "but Todd is correct that it deserves investigation. I need everything you remember about your grandmother. Her complete name, where she lived before Riverside, anything unusual she said or did, and anyone around her who seemed more than human." Eva searched through memories that now felt uncertain. Her name was Ernestine Whitaker. Human friends called her Tina. She told me she had lived in Riverside her entire life. She worked as a seamstress and made custom clothing. I cannot remember anything that seemed strange. "Did she always own the compass?" Terry asked. "Or did she receive it shortly before giving it to you?" "She wore it for as long as I can remember." Eva touched the bare skin at her throat. The absence of the necklace still felt wrong. She called it a family heirloom that had passed through generations. "She gave it to me the night before she died, and told me to guard it and never remove it." Jared's attention sharpened. "Did she explain why?" "Only that it would protect me. She said I could always find my way home while I wore it." Eva's voice weakened. "I wore it every day for 3 months. And the night I needed protection most, men stole it after being sent by..." The realization struck. "By Elmer," she finished. "Elmer ordered those men to take the compass. Why? It was only an old silver necklace. What could he possibly gain from it?" An uneasy silence followed. Norman finally cleared his throat. "It was not merely jewelry. The compass was forged by the veil when shifters and humans first established peace. Only 3 such objects exist. Each serves as a key. Eva's skin went cold. A key to what? She already knew she would hate the answer. Jared's expression became grim. To the heart of the veil. It is the source from which shifter magic flows, and, according to the oldest accounts, the place where balance between our world and the human world is maintained. Elmer wants to reach it, Eva said as the pieces joined together. That is why he wants my grandmother's bloodline, not simply to punish her or reclaim what he says she stole. He believes I am connected to the compass, and therefore to the heart. That is what we suspect, Jared confirmed. The compass does not merely indicate a destination. It identifies the person entrusted to guard that destination. Your grandmother once served as a guardian before leaving the Northern Pack. Suppressing her nature should have severed that bond. Instead, she appears to have passed it into her descendants, first to your mother and then to you. Eva stared at her trembling hands. So I am not only a half-trained shifter trapped between 2 packs, I might also be the key to a magical source that could destroy everything if someone dangerous controls it. Essentially, yes, Todd said. Terry struck his arm. What? He protested. We do not know that Elmer seeks the heart, Terry said quickly. It remains a theory. He may want revenge for Ernestine's betrayal, or he may intend to use you against Jared. Or he wants exactly what you fear he wants. Stephanie's sharp voice came from the edge of the clearing. Everyone turned. She emerged from between the trees with an expression harder than Eva had ever seen. Mud covered her boots, leaves clung to her hair, and she wore travel clothes rather than her usual clothing. Where have you been? Jared asked, his authority unmistakable. Following a suspicion, Stephanie replied. I tracked several members of Elmer's pack to learn what they have done since visiting us. She stopped before the group and fixed her storm-gray eyes on Eva. They have been raiding former Guardian sites, removing artifacts from protected ground, and contacting a black market dealer who specializes in breaking binding spells and forcing transformations. Eva understood immediately. He intends to force my change, she said flatly. He wants to accelerate the process so I can reach whatever connection I have to the heart before I learn to control it. That is our conclusion, Stephanie said. It means we have less time than we believed. The 60-day protection means nothing if Elmer decides to seize you before it expires. Jared went frighteningly still. When he spoke, his voice was barely louder than a whisper, yet it cut through the clearing. Then we accelerate Eva's training. We push harder and move faster. When Elmer comes, she must be able to defend herself. She must know how to shift, fight, and survive without us if necessary. Pushing her that quickly is dangerous, Norman warned. It could. I know what it could do, Jared interrupted. Leaving her helpless is worse. Elmer has already abandoned the rules. We cannot depend upon those rules to protect her. He faced Eva, and the force in his amber eyes stole her breath. I need you to trust me. What we are about to demand from you will be harder than anything you have endured. There will be pain, fear, and moments when surrender seems easier, but if you trust me and trust this pack, we will carry you through it. We will make you strong enough to survive what comes. Eva studied the people surrounding her. Jimmy understood what it meant to enter this world without preparation. Terry's kindness had kept Eva from breaking. Norman was steady and dependable. Todd's humor made impossible truths feel less crushing. Even Stephanie, who clearly did not welcome Eva, had risked herself gathering information to protect her. Then there was Jared, who had saved her life and placed his own future beneath a death challenge. They were offering more than instruction. They were offering the family and belonging Eva had lacked for as long as she could remember. All right, she said, making her voice stronger than she felt. I trust you. Teach me everything I need. Relief briefly softened Jared's face. Then we begin. Truly begin. His gaze held hers. And when we finish, Eva Thompson, you will no longer be merely the waitress who survived. You will become someone even Elmer Kerr must think carefully before threatening. Eva straightened despite the fading ache in her ribs and the fear twisting inside her. She had survived poverty. She had survived violence. She had survived being abandoned to die upon a dark road. She would survive this as well. She had no other choice. Chapter 7. Breaking Point. The serious training began the following morning, and Eva quickly discovered that accelerated was simply a polite word for merciless. She woke before sunrise to find Terry standing beside her bed in exercise clothes, and looking far too cheerful for the hour. "Up," Terry said, pulling open the curtains as the sky began to pale. "We have a 5-mile run before breakfast." Eva groaned as every muscle in her body objected. The previous day's meditation had seemed harmless, but nearly shifting had apparently exhausted muscles she had not known existed. 5 miles? I can barely reach the bathroom. Your body is adapting to a shifter's metabolism, Terry explained while heading toward the door. You are burning calories much faster, so you need additional food and conditioning. Running will also help you connect with your wolf's instincts. It becomes easier. It did not become easier. Eva covered barely half a mile before her lungs burned and her legs felt filled with metal. Terry remained beside her, matching Eva's pace even though she could clearly have disappeared into the trees within seconds. "Do not think about 5 miles, Terry instructed when Eva stumbled over a root. "Think only about the next step, then the one after that. Shifters are made for endurance. You must teach your body how to use what it already possesses." "My body," Eva gasped, "believes this is a terrible decision." "Your human body believes that," Terry corrected. "Your wolf enjoys it. Can you feel the restless pressure under your skin? She wants 4 legs. She wants to run." Eva wanted to deny it, but the feeling was there. Energy remained tightly coiled inside her muscles. A voice deep within suggested that 4 legs would move faster, fur would protect her from the cold, and the forest belonged to her if she dared claim it. When they finally returned to the den house, Eva wanted nothing more than to collapse. Norman was waiting with a smooth staff made from dark wood. "No rest yet." He tossed it toward her. Eva caught the weapon without thinking, and was startled by its perfect balance. "Combat training begins now. I can barely remain standing." "Good." Norman lifted his own staff, twice as thick as hers, and covered in symbols that shimmered beneath the morning light. "Exhaustion shows you what you truly possess. Anyone can fight while rested and comfortable. When your body demands surrender and fatigue clouds your thoughts, you learn whether you are a survivor or a victim." The words struck exactly where Norman intended. Eva straightened and tightened her grip. "Fine. Teach me." Norman smiled with fierce approval. "Begin with your stance. Feet shoulder-width apart. Bend your knees. Hold the staff like this." He demonstrated, and Eva copied him. "Good. The first lesson is that shifters do not fight as humans fight. We are stronger, faster, and capable of surviving injuries that would kill an ordinary person. Therefore, the rules are different." Norman moved without warning. His staff swept toward her ankles in a dark blur. Eva jumped backward, only just in time. "Rule 1, he continued without pausing the attack. "Never stop moving. A still target becomes a dead target." Eva scrambled away while he advanced. She raised her staff to block the next strike. The impact traveled through her arms and shook muscles already weakened by the run. "Rule 2, Norman said, attacking from the side. "Turn your opponent's strength against him. I am larger and stronger. If you try to meet my power directly, you lose. Redirect my momentum instead." His staff passed close to her shoulder as Eva twisted away. "Make my strength become my weakness." They repeated the motions until time lost meaning. Block, deflect, move, strike. Eva's palms blistered, and her arms trembled. Her watch claimed only 45 minutes had passed when Norman finally lowered his staff. "Enough. You performed better than I expected during a first lesson." Eva fell onto the grass and struggled for air. "That was torture." "That was the foundation," Norman corrected. "Tomorrow we add real combat situations." He offered his hand and pulled her upright. "For now, breakfast. Afterward, Jared will teach pack law and shifter politics." "Naturally," Eva muttered, but hunger prevented a proper complaint. Breakfast filled the enormous wooden table, which appeared carved from one entire tree. Eva had never seen so much food gathered at once: eggs, bacon, sausage, pancakes, fruit, and a complete loaf of warm bread covered the surface. "Eat!" Rebecca ordered, pushing a heavily loaded plate toward her. "Your body is consuming energy at an unnatural speed. Without enough food, it will break down muscle for fuel, which would make training useless." Eva obeyed eagerly. Although she had eaten only hours before, hunger tore through her. The rest of the pack ate with similar intensity, while conversation moved around the table. "The Eastern Patrol sent a report," Todd told Stephanie. "There is no direct sign of the Northern Pack, but someone has been examining the perimeter. We found tracks and scent markers that belong to none of our regular visitors. Elmer is measuring our defenses," Stephanie said. "He wants to know how carefully we watch the border and where we are weakest." "Double the patrols," Jared ordered from the head of the table. His own breakfast remained almost untouched. Eva noticed the distance in his expression. "Rotate every 6 hours. No one travels alone, and every team carries an emergency beacon. The moment Elmer or one of his wolves enters without permission, I want to know." Norman frowned. "That will spread us thin. We have only 11 active members. Elmer has 40. 43 now," Stephanie corrected. "He has recruited heavily this year. Most are young shifters angry at council restrictions and desperate to prove themselves." Eva's stomach tightened. 11 against 43 was not a battle. It was a slaughter, even among creatures who healed quickly and possessed unnatural strength. "Our objective is not to win a war," Jared said. "It is to protect one person for 60 days. Different objective, different strategy." "And what happens if protecting her starts the war?" Stephanie challenged. "What if Elmer stops respecting the treaty and attacks directly?" "Then we fight," Jared answered, "and we pray the council intervenes before anyone dies." He spoke of death with such calm acceptance that Eva's food became tasteless. These people might die because of her, because Ernestine had made decisions 60 years earlier, and Eva had inherited the consequences. "Stop," Jared said quietly. Eva looked up and realized he meant her. "Whatever thought is consuming you, stop it." "You cannot know what I am thinking," she said without confidence. "You believe this is your fault. You think everyone here is endangered by choices you did not make. You are wondering whether you deserve protection, and whether all of us would have been safer had you died on that road." Eva flinched. He had spoken the exact thought she was ashamed to admit. "Listen carefully," Jared continued. Alpha power entered his voice, and every person at the table became still. "Your grandmother's choices belong to her. Elmer's crimes belong to him. This danger exists because powerful people made decisions for reasons that do not define your value. You do not carry responsibility for the sins of your bloodline. But I remain the reason you are threatened," Eva said. "No," Terry cut in. "Elmer is the reason. He broke the treaty, hired humans to attack you, and now seeks the heart of the Veil. You are only the excuse he has chosen. Had you never existed, he would have found another excuse and another victim. He has wanted to challenge the existing order for years," Todd added. "I have followed Northern Pack politics. Elmer is ambitious, impatient, and obsessed with greater power. He tested treaty boundaries long before you appeared. This conflict was approaching with or without you. And when it arrives," Norman said with steady conviction, "we will be ready. Packs stand together, fight together, and defend their own. You are under us now, Eva. Your battle is our battle." Tears burned Eva's eyes, but she refused to release them. "Why? Why would any of you risk so much for someone you have known for days?" "Jared gave his word for you," Jimmy replied. "We trust Jared. If our Alpha says you are worth protecting, then you are. There is nothing complicated about it." Todd grinned. "And you have courage. Anyone who can face Elmer Kerr without losing control of themselves deserves respect." Despite the fear surrounding them, Eva smiled. These strangers were offering something she had never possessed. Not merely safety, belonging, family. "Thank you," she said, her voice rough. "I do not know how I can repay this." "You already are," Jared interrupted. "Learn, train, become capable of standing on your own. That is the only repayment we require. After breakfast, Eva followed him into his office. The room was surprisingly ordinary, lined with bookshelves, and centered around a massive desk buried beneath documents. Jared directed her to a chair and sat opposite her with a leather-bound volume that appeared centuries old. "Pack law and shifter politics," he said. "What do you know?" "Nothing." "Excellent. That makes instruction simpler." He opened the book to pages filled with elegant writing and detailed drawings. Shifter society rests upon 3 foundations: territory, hierarchy, and the treaty. Every other law grows from them. During the next 2 hours, Jared explained the complex rules and customs that controlled shifter life. Territory was sacred. Entering another pack's land without permission could justify execution. An alpha possessed final authority inside the pack, though ritual combat allowed that authority to be challenged. The treaty Elmer repeatedly mentioned was not a single agreement, but a collection of accords negotiated over centuries. Those laws maintained peace among different shifter species and concealed their existence from humanity. Eva paused over an illustration of a gigantic bird with unmistakably human eyes. "There are more species than wolves and bears?" "Many," Jared confirmed. "Bears like me, wolves like you will become. Great cats such as lions, tigers, and leopards, birds of prey, even aquatic shifters, although they rarely enter inland territory. Each species follows different traditions and structures, but all answer to the council. The council contains representatives from every major shifter line. It resolves disputes, enforces the treaty, and decides how we interact with humans." Jared's expression hardened. "Unfortunately, it is painfully slow. Elmer has exploited that weakness for years. By the time an investigation ends, the harm is usually permanent." "Can the council prevent his challenge against you?" Eva asked. "No. The right of challenge belongs to our oldest laws. An alpha who believes another alpha has wronged the pack may demand satisfaction through combat. The council can witness the fight and confirm the result. It cannot forbid the challenge." Eva's hope disappeared. "Then after 60 days, you truly must fight him." "Not if you willingly choose the northern pack," Jared said carefully. "That choice would remove the basis of his challenge. Elmer would gain you and your bond to the heart, while I would remain alive to protect Riverside. Strategically, it is the safest outcome." "Safest for whom?" Eva demanded. "Certainly not for me. You have already admitted that Elmer is dangerous. If I enter his pack, he controls me. He could force my shift, force access to the heart, or order me to do anything he wished." "Yes," Jared said. "He could. That is why I am not advising you to choose him. I am ensuring that you understand every possible path." Eva studied the strain in his face and the darkness beneath his eyes. "You have not slept. There is too much work. You are afraid of the challenge," she pressed. "You do not know whether you can defeat him." Jared remained silent for several moments, then set the ancient book aside. "Elmer Kerr is among the strongest alphas in this region. He has more age, more experience, and has survived opponents who were believed stronger than he was. A reasonable wager would favor him." "Then why accept?" "Because protecting you is right," Jared answered before she could finish. "Because Ernestine once saved my life, and I owe her descendants. Because you deserve more than becoming Elmer's weapon, and because—" He struggled briefly for the words. "When I found you bleeding on the road, still thanking me simply because you would not die alone, I recognized myself. 20 years ago, I was young, reckless, and nearly killed by a rival pack. Your grandmother found me. She treated my injuries and hid me until my own people arrived. She owed me nothing. I belonged to another territory and meant nothing to her. Yet she protected me because she believed the strong must defend those who cannot defend themselves." Old honor and an unpaid debt filled Jared's amber gaze. "You are Ernestine's legacy," he said, "the final part of her that remains in this world. I will not allow Elmer Kerr to corrupt that legacy for his ambition." Eva's throat tightened. "I do not want you to die for me." "Then become stronger," Jared said, recovering his firmness. "Become strong enough that death is unnecessary. Stand beside me when Elmer returns instead of hiding behind me. Can you do that? Eva remembered every event of the past week. The assault, the pain, the impossible truths, the punishing training. Every frightened instinct told her to disappear, to become invisible again, and to escape attention. But invisibility had never protected her. She had simply failed to see all the dangers waiting to destroy her. Yes, Eva said steadily. I can. Pride softened Jared's face. Good. Then we continue. You need to understand the rules of an alpha challenge and exactly what I will face when… A hard knock interrupted him. Stephanie entered without waiting. Urgency sharpened every line of her face. We have a serious problem. Jared stood instantly. What happened? Rebecca received word from contacts inside the neutral zones. There has been a theft. What was taken? Something extremely dangerous. Stephanie looked at Eva. Someone entered the repository of forgotten things and stole a binding breaker stone. It can shatter even the strongest suppression spell from a distance. Cold spread through Eva's blood. Elmer. Almost certainly, Stephanie confirmed. With that stone, he no longer needs to wait for your spell to fail naturally. He can force the transformation whenever he chooses, wherever you happen to be, whether your body is ready or not. Jared cursed with vicious force. How soon can the stone be used? It must be charged with the target's blood or personal essence, Stephanie explained. The preparation usually requires 3 days, perhaps less if Elmer has a powerful witch. My compass, Eva whispered as horror arrived. My blood was on it after the chain tore through my skin. He does not need to capture me. He already possesses what the ritual requires. Then we may have only 72 hours before the transformation is forced, Jared said. He turned toward Eva with deadly seriousness. Everything accelerates now. No gentle beginning, no gradual conditioning. We push your limits immediately and hope that it is enough. What if it is not? Fear reduced her voice. What if I cannot control the wolf when the spell breaks? Jared took her shoulders and forced her to hold his gaze. Then all of us will guide you. You will not endure it alone. I promise. Behind him, Stephanie looked deeply troubled. If she changes before she is prepared and loses control, she could injure someone. She could destroy herself. Perhaps we should consider… No, Jared said flatly. We will not imprison her. We will not sedate her. And we will never surrender her to Elmer. We train harder, prepare better, and trust that when the moment arrives, Eva will survive it. Stephanie's gaze narrowed. And if your trust is wrong, then I accept responsibility, Jared replied. As her protector, as Alpha, and as the one who made this decision. But we do not abandon her. Not now, not ever. A silent argument passed between them. At last, Stephanie shook her head. I hope your judgment is correct, for every one of us. She left, and the weight of the news settled over the room. 3 days, Eva said numbly. I have 3 days to learn what normally takes months. 2, Jared corrected. We assume Elmer will act sooner than expected. That makes today essential. Today, we go beyond your current limits and discover what you can actually do. He drew her to her feet. Determination burned in his amber eyes. Can I do this? Eva asked. She hated the uncertainty in her voice. Am I truly strong enough? Jared remained silent for 1 heartbeat. Then his mouth curved into a fierce smile that belonged more to a predator than a man. We are about to discover that. Eva understood that the next 48 hours would decide whether she survived as a shifter or died as a human crushed beneath her own inheritance. There was no middle path left, no time for uncertainty, only training, pain, and the fragile hope that when Elmer forced the change, she would be ready. She had to be. Chapter 8. The Wolf Within. The following 48 hours dissolved into a punishing cycle of exhaustion, pain, and brief moments of frightening understanding. Norman dragged Eva from sleep at 4 every morning for combat practice that left new bruises and cuts across her body. Todd taught her to feel pack bonds through the veil, a skill that filled her skull with pressure and made the world tilt. Rebecca poured healing tonics into her that tasted like mud and burned through her stomach, but those medicines repaired her quickly enough to resume training within hours. And Jared? Jared demanded more than all of them together. Again, he ordered when Eva collapsed on the training ground for the 5th time that morning. Dawn had barely reached the trees, and she had already trained for 3 hours. Stand up and try again. I cannot, she gasped. Her lungs felt scorched. They were practicing the meditation, attempting to touch her wolf without surrendering control. Each time Eva approached the animal, fear surged and she retreated, building mental walls between herself and the power waiting within. Cannot or will not? Jared asked sharply, deliberately wounding her pride. From what I see, you continue choosing weakness. You continue choosing to remain a victim. Anger ignited inside Eva, exactly as he intended. He wanted to provoke enough emotion to carry her beyond the fear. I am not weak, she snarled, forcing herself upright while her legs shook. And I have never been anyone's victim. You survived by fleeing, Jared interrupted. You made yourself small and invisible, hoping the world would overlook you long enough to leave you unharmed. That is not strength, Eva. It is survival. And survival alone is no longer enough. Then what is enough? Eva demanded, clenching her fists. What are you asking me to become? A fighter. Jared's roar traveled across the clearing. Stop fearing your own power and claim it. Look at the wolf as a weapon, not a monster. In less than 2 days, you will transform whether you are prepared or not. If you remain this terrified when Elmer breaks the spell, the shift will kill you. The words struck like blows. Eva stepped backward as panic tightened her throat. You do not understand. You were born this way. You have always been... Always been what? Jared cut in. At peace with my nature? Comfortable believing myself a monster? Bitter laughter escaped him. I was 7 when I first changed. 7 years old, Eva. Terror drove me into a road, where a vehicle nearly killed me. I remained trapped between forms for 3 days and screamed whenever my bones tried to move in either direction. My pack sedated me so they could force me back into human shape. Shock silenced Eva. Every shifter carries some version of that memory, Jared continued. We all began overwhelmed, frightened, and convinced that transformation was impossible. We changed anyway. We passed through the fear because the alternatives were death or madness. You will pass through it as well, because you possess more strength than you understand. How could you know? Eva whispered. You hardly know me. Jared came closer. I know you survived men who beat you and abandoned you as dead. I know you faced one of the region's most dangerous alphas without breaking. I know you train until your body fails every day because you refuse to become helpless again. That is not weakness. That is steel beneath skin. His hands framed her face, gentle despite the force of his words, and compelled her to meet his amber gaze. Your grandmother was the strongest person I ever knew. To protect the man she loved and the family she chose, she surrendered her pack, her power, and her nature. That same strength lives in your blood. I see it every time you refuse to surrender, every time you move beyond what you believed was your limit. You must learn to see it. Tears tightened Eva's throat. What happens if I cannot? You can, Jared said with absolute certainty. Close your eyes. We begin again. This time, when you touch the wolf, remain connected. Do not retreat. Let me guide you. Fear trembled through Eva's voice. What if I transform? Then you transform, and I remain beside you through every second. You are not alone anymore. Eva wanted another excuse, another delay, but she saw the approaching deadline in his expression. They had no time and no safer path. Eva closed her eyes. The inner forest appeared immediately after so many hours of practice. She saw the clearing, the mirror-still pool, and the enormous wolf waiting for her fear to end. Trust him, Ernestine's remembered voice whispered. Trust yourself. Eva walked through the vision. With every step, the black wolf grew clearer. It observed her with amber eyes identical to her own, and neither threatened nor retreated. I am afraid, Eva whispered both inside the vision and aloud. I know, Jared answered, his voice somehow present in both places. Fear is natural. It protects life, but it must never rule you. Use fear as a tool, not a master. Eva raised a trembling hand and touched the wolf's shoulder. Electricity passed through her, bringing overwhelming awareness and the promise of power. This time, she did not pull away. She leaned closer. The wolf's consciousness brushed hers, and Eva gasped at how completely different it was. There were no words and no careful reasoning, only instinct, movement, sound, and scent. The forest became alive beyond anything her human senses had known. Every tree, animal, and patch of soil announced itself through vibration and smell. Without language, the wolf offered one truth. This is what you could be. This is what you are beneath doubt and fear. Wild, powerful, free. Show me, Eva whispered. Teach me. The wolf moved closer, and Eva felt the structure of transformation. Bones bending where human bones could not bend, muscles lengthening, dividing and reforming. Human and animal existing within the same life through will and magic drawn from the veil. The process was beautiful, impossible, and horrifying. Eva remained connected. Time disappeared. Seconds might have become hours. Gradually, the flood of sensation formed patterns she could understand. Chaos became order. The impossible became merely difficult. For one perfect moment, Eva knew how it would feel to run upon 4 legs through a forest that recognized her name. Jared's voice broke the connection. Enough. Pull back. Leaving was more difficult now. The wolf resisted separation, and Eva realized that she resisted as well. Freedom and power had become intoxicating. Eva, Jared commanded, pull back now. Alpha force snapped through her mind. Eva tore herself away so violently that her physical body fell backward. Jared caught her before she struck the ground. The clearing spun as her vision struggled between human sight and the sharper eyes of a wolf. Breathe, Jared ordered. Slowly. Anchor yourself in this body and this form. You are human now. Human. Eva followed his voice as though it were a rope. The dizziness faded, and the 2 versions of the world returned to one. She was Eva again, a human woman terrified by how close she had come to becoming something else. I felt her, she whispered. I truly felt everything. I could have changed if I had just released all control, Jared finished. You stood at the edge. A few more seconds would have completed the transformation. Then why did you stop me? One part of Eva felt relieved. The part still connected to the wolf felt angry. You were not ready. You can reach your wolf and feel her power, but you cannot yet direct it. Had you transformed, you would have remained trapped in wolf form until we forced you back. Forced changes are deeply damaging. They injure the bond between both shapes and make later transformations harder and more painful. When will I be ready? Eva demanded as frustration overwhelmed her. There may be only 40 hours before Elmer acts. How can I gain control in that time? Trust the process, Jared answered. You have progressed farther in 4 days than many young shifters progress in weeks. You can see your wolf, touch her, and draw upon her strength. Now you must merge with her by choice without allowing her instincts to erase you. How? Jared's expression became troubled. There is an ancient method, one used before the treaty. It is dangerous and painful, but it is the fastest way to teach control. What method? Eva asked wearily. A hunt. We take you into the deep vale, not the borderland surrounding this den. We place you against prey dangerous enough that transformation becomes necessary for survival. Then we discover whether your instincts can guide your first shift. Cold swept through Eva. That is madness. What if I cannot transform? What if the creature kills me? Then you die, Jared answered without softness. But Elmer will kill or destroy you if he reaches you first. The hunt offers at least one chance. Jared, no. Stephanie's voice cut into the clearing. She approached with fury in her eyes. You will not take an untrained shifter into the deep vale. That is suicide. It is necessary. It is reckless. Stephanie stood directly before him despite his greater height. She could lose herself in the wolf and never return. She might become feral and attack us. Her body could form some twisted half-shape and remain trapped forever. There are too many ways for this to become a disaster. And if we do nothing, Elmer forces the shift within 2 days, and every danger you named happens anyway, Jared argued. At least during a hunt, We can guide her and intervene. A calculated risk? Stephanie gave a bitter laugh. You are wagering her life because guilt over a debt from 20 years ago has clouded your judgment. My judgment remains sound, Jared said coldly. As Alpha, this decision belongs to me. Then make it properly as Alpha, Stephanie replied. Call a pack council. Let all of us decide whether this plan justifies the danger. If Eva dies, goes feral, or kills one of us during the attempt, every member will carry that consequence. Jared and Stephanie stared at each other while tension tightened the air. Eva had learned that pack bonds depended upon loyalty and trust, but those bonds could fracture beneath pressure. She could almost see the connection between Jared and his second, stretching toward its limit. Fine, he said at last. We call the council tonight and allow the pack to decide. Good. Stephanie turned toward Eva. Some hardness left her face. I am not trying to punish you. I simply refuse to watch another person die because our Alpha's instinct to protect overwhelms his judgment. Another person? Eva asked. Stephanie's jaw tightened. Ask Jared about Lel Rutherford. Ask what happens when sentiment produces a terrible decision. She walked toward the den house. Eva faced Jared. Who is Lel Rutherford? One of the men who attacked you, Jared answered flatly. He once belonged to this pack, to me. I recruited him 5 years ago after he had been changed against his will and abandoned by the shifter responsible. He struggled to adapt, lost control frequently, and was prone to violence. I believed time and training could help him master the wolf. What happened? Eva asked, already dreading the answer. He became worse. His wolf gained more control until almost nothing human remained. He hunted alone, ignored territorial limits, and attacked people. I continued defending him and insisting he could return to himself. Jared's voice became low. Then he killed someone. Eva stopped breathing. A hiker, Jared continued beneath the weight of old guilt. The wrong person in the wrong place. Lel lost control beneath a full moon and tore the human apart. The council demanded justice. I had to execute him, or banish him from our land. I chose exile because I hoped distance would bring peace. But it did not, Eva said. He found Elmer, Jared confirmed. The Northern Pack rewarded the violence we had tried to control. Lel became one of Elmer's enforcers. Then he helped those men nearly kill you under Elmer's command. The truth settled heavily. Stephanie believes I am another Lel, someone you are trying to rescue even though I cannot be saved. Stephanie believes my emotions sometimes overrule my reason, Jared corrected. She is not completely wrong. I gather strays and broken people because I always hope they can heal. But you are not Lel. You are neither cruel nor unstable. You are frightened, and fear can be overcome. Can it? Eva asked. Perhaps I am deceiving myself. Maybe I should enter Elmer's pack, let him control the transformation, and stop endangering all of you for someone who may not deserve this sacrifice. Jared seized her shoulders. His amber gaze became frighteningly intense. Do not say that. Do not surrender after everything you have survived. You are worth saving, Eva Thompson. You are worth every risk, every danger, and every hour I have spent training you. Do you understand? I want to believe it, she whispered. I do not know how. Then believe me, Jared said. Believe I would never gamble my pack, my honor, and my life upon someone unworthy. When I look at you, I see Ernestine's courage, strength, and refusal to accept defeat. You are her legacy. A legacy like hers does not break. It bends, adapts, and survives. Tears escaped Eva. I am so afraid. Good. Jared pulled her into his arms. The embrace felt like safety, home, and everything she had spent a lifetime without. Fear proves you are alive. It proves the future matters to you. Use it as fuel instead of allowing it to freeze you. Eva pressed her face against his chest and breathed in pine, earth, and the scent that belonged only to him. For one moment, she allowed herself to depend upon another person's strength. Then she stepped back, wiped her face, and straightened. When does the council meet? At sunset, Jared replied. Whatever the decision, know that I am proud of you. In 4 days, you have crossed a distance no one had the right to expect. You have already proved that you can survive. You told me survival is no longer enough, Eva reminded him. Then help me become more. Sunset painted the sky with orange and gold when the pack council assembled. Stephanie, Norman, Todd, Terry, Jimmy, Rebecca, and 4 members Eva knew only briefly formed a circle inside the den house's great hall. Jared stood at one end, Eva at the other. You know why we have gathered, he began. Eva's suppression spell is failing faster than expected. In approximately 40 hours, Elmer Kerr intends to use a binding breaker stone to force her transformation, prepared or not. I propose taking her into the Deep Vale for a controlled hunt, allowing her to attempt the change by choice before Elmer turns her into a weapon. It is too dangerous, Stephanie said immediately. She has received 4 days of instruction. Most shifters require months before a controlled first shift. The Deep Vale will destroy her. What alternative do you offer? Todd asked. Allow Elmer to force it? That guarantees disaster. Call the council, said an older, weathered man Eva remembered as Raphael Barry, one of Riverside's longest-serving elders. Let them address Elmer's treaty violation and remove this decision from our hands. The council cannot act quickly enough, Jared replied. By the time it investigates, Eva will already have transformed, and Elmer may have used her bond to the heart. Then contain her, suggested Nadia Myers, a sharp-featured woman with calculating eyes. Sedate and bind her until the council intervenes. It is unpleasant, but it protects everyone. That is barbaric, Terry protested. Eva is not a prisoner. She is one of us. Not yet, Nadia replied. She has selected no pack, sworn no allegiance, and completed no transformation. Legally, she remains human with dormant shifter blood. We are not obligated to endanger ourselves for her. Obligated? Jimmy's anger filled the hall. What about basic decency? What about refusing to abandon someone in need? I thought that was the meaning of pack. Pack means protecting our own, Nadia answered. Eva is not truly ours. She is a danger that entered our territory and led our enemy directly to us. Enough. Alpha authority filled Jared's voice and silenced the room. We will not debate whether Eva has value as a person. The decision is simple. Do we grant her a chance to shift voluntarily through a controlled hunt, or do we take defensive measures? We vote now. The members looked at one another, conducting silent conversations through posture and expression. Eva remained rigid, while strangers who had begun to feel like family decided what would happen to her. I support the hunt, Terry said firmly. Eva has earned the chance. I agree, Todd added. A dangerous chance is better than certain failure. The hunt, Jimmy said. Containment, Nadia voted. I am sorry, but uncertain success does not justify risking the pack. Raphael reluctantly agreed with containment. One by one, the votes divided the circle. 5 supported the hunt, and 4 supported containment. 2 members remained. Norman rose, filling the room with his massive presence. I have witnessed many first transformations. Some were peaceful, others violent, and none predictable. I have also seen the damage caused when someone is forced to change against their will. Something essential breaks. The scars never completely disappear. I vote for the hunt. Eva should choose the moment of transformation, even if that choice carries danger. Every gaze moved to Stephanie. Her final vote would decide the result. She studied Eva for a long time, then looked at Jared as something complicated passed between them. I believe this plan is a mistake, Stephanie said. I believe your guilt over Ernestine affects your judgment regarding her granddaughter. I believe we are risking too much with no guarantee. Eva's heart sank during the pause that followed. But the correct choice and the safe choice are not always identical. I trust Jared even when I oppose him. Even when I believe he is wrong, I trust his instinct for people. He has never led us to destruction. Stephanie drew a deep breath. I vote for the hunt. May the veil show us mercy. The vote ended 6-5. Thank you, Jared said, relief visible beneath his control. We leave at dawn. Everyone else will double border patrols and prepare for Elmer to act during our absence. Stephanie, the pack is under your command until I return. Members began leaving the hall, but Eva could not move. The decision pressed down upon her. At dawn, she would either become a shifter by choice or die during the attempt. There was no longer any third path. Chapter 9. The Hunt. Eva did not sleep that night. She lay beneath the painted constellations of the healing room and counted every possible way the next day could end in disaster. Her thoughts moved through the same horrors again and again. She might disappear inside the wolf and never return. She might attack the people trying to help her. She might die halfway through the transformation, her bones broken while her body remained trapped between two shapes. At 3 a.m, she finally abandoned sleep and went to the kitchen, hoping tea or warm milk might quiet her mind. Rebecca was already sitting at the great wooden table. Steam rose from a cup beside an old leather journal open in her hands. Unable to sleep? The healer asked without looking up. Eva sat opposite her. How did you know I entered? A healer notices things. Rebecca smiled faintly. I could feel your anxiety from 3 rooms away, and you are breathing like someone who has been awake for hours. She closed the journal. Do you want to speak about it? What is left to say? Eva tried to sound light and failed. Tomorrow I enter the deep vale to hunt something dangerous enough to force me to shift or die. That seems fairly clear. Clear does not mean easy. Rebecca crossed to the stove, where a kettle was already warming. I am preparing Valiant tea. It will not make you unconscious, but it should soften the anxiety. You require at least a few hours of rest before dawn. Eva was too exhausted emotionally to refuse. Thank you. Rebecca prepared 2 cups while the kettle whistled and ceramic touched wood. When she returned to the table, she slid 1 cup toward Eva and wrapped her hands around the other. I was present when your grandmother left the northern pack, she said. Has anyone told you? Eva looked up sharply. No. No one said you knew her. I did more than know her. I treated her injuries, argued with her, and loved her as my closest friend for 15 years. Rebecca's smile carried both sorrow and affection. When Ernestine told me she would drink the suppression potion and abandon everything for a human man, I believed she had lost her reason. What changed your mind? I watched them together. Your grandfather was named Thomas. He looked at Ernestine as if she were the center of the world, not because she possessed magic or could become a magnificent wolf, but because she was kind, funny, and impossibly stubborn. Rebecca's eyes drifted into memory, and Ernestine became different in his presence. I had never seen her so happy or so free. The elders called her decision weakness. They said she betrayed her nature and abandoned duty. I believed walking away from everything familiar required more courage than remaining. She gave up her long life, her pack, and the freedom of running beneath the full moon for a man who would age and die while she barely changed. That is not weakness. It is love in its purest and most frightening form. Did she regret it? Eva asked. Never, Rebecca answered without hesitation. She missed running. She missed pack bonds, and the sensation of the veil moving through her bones. But she shared 50 good years with Thomas. After his death, she still had their daughter, your mother, and later she had you. Ernestine once told me she had traded power for love and eternity for family. She said she would make the same trade 1,000 times. Tears burned Eva's eyes. My mother never told me any of this. She never mentioned the northern pack, grandmother's wolf, or any secret. Why? Because Ernestine made her promise silence. Your mother was completely human. Whatever magic allowed Ernestine to conceive despite the suppression potion did not seem to pass shifter blood to her daughter. Ernestine believed the bloodline had safely ended, and her secret would die with her. She could not have known that you would inherit what your mother did not. The veil interfered, Eva said, remembering the pack's theory. Something wanted the line to continue. Perhaps, Rebecca replied. Or perhaps the universe possesses a cruel sense of humor. Whatever the reason, you are here. Ernestine's granddaughter, carrying impossible blood and facing a transformation that terrifies you. How do you know I am terrified? Eva asked weakly. Rebecca raised one eyebrow. Everyone fears the first shift. Those who deny it are either lying or too foolish to recognize the danger. Fear keeps you cautious. Jared told me fear is a tool, not a master. He is correct. That truth does not make fear unreal. It means you acknowledge the feeling and continue forward. Rebecca leaned closer, suddenly serious. I need you to hear what I am about to say. Are you listening? Eva nodded. Tomorrow, when you change, and I believe you will feel as though you are dying. Your body will tear itself apart and rebuild in a shape that feels wrong. You may believe you are losing everything human and becoming something monstrous. Every instinct in your conscious mind will demand resistance. Rebecca tightened her hands around the cup. Do not fight. Do not resist. Struggle increases the pain and raises the chance that the transformation will fail. Surrender instead. Trust that your body understands what your mind cannot. The shift is not death, Eva. It is transformation. To become what you are meant to be, you must release what you were. What if I cannot release it? Eva whispered. What if fear makes me cling to the human shape? Then Jared will bring you back. That is why he enters the veil with you. If necessary, he has enough strength to force your body into one form. It will be agonizing and leave you weak for days, but you will survive and receive another chance. What if Elmer forces the next shift before that chance comes? Rebecca's expression hardened. Then we confront that danger when it arrives. Do not borrow tomorrow's suffering tonight. Drink your tea, sleep, and believe you will possess enough strength when the moment comes. Eva wanted promises and guarantees, but Rebecca's calm gaze told her that none existed. This was shifter life. Power, danger, and the constant possibility of losing oneself to the wildness within. Did my grandmother leave any other message? Eva asked. Anything she wanted me to know? Rebecca was silent while one finger traced the rim of her cup. She said that if her secret was ever discovered, or if you somehow inherited what she had surrendered, I should tell you this. The compass does not merely indicate a destination. It points home. And home is not a location, a pack, or even a person. Home exists between who you once were and who you are becoming. It is the place where courage meets fear. That is where you will discover your strength. That is where the heart truly lives. The words settled over Eva with strange comfort. Ernestine had somehow imagined that this day might come, and left guidance beyond death. Thank you, Eva said, for telling me, for loving her, for being here. I promised Ernestine the night before she died that I would answer if her bloodline ever needed help. That promise brought me into Jared's pack 8 years ago. I felt the veil stirring and the balance beginning to change. I did not know your name or where you were. I only knew that Ernestine's legacy was not finished, so I waited. Rebecca smiled softly. Then you arrived. Eva felt the weight of all the protection that had surrounded her without her knowledge. Ernestine, Rebecca, Jared, and the debt he had carried for decades. Eva had believed herself unseen and alone. Now she understood that people had been waiting for her long before she knew she needed them. I will not waste it, she said firmly. I will not answer every sacrifice and every chance by becoming too afraid to try. Good. Rebecca pushed the tea closer. Drink and rest. Dawn arrives quickly, and you will require every piece of strength you own. Eva found 3 hours of troubled sleep before Terry woke her in the first weak light. She dressed in the prepared clothing, made from tough, flexible material, designed to tear freely during transformation, instead of binding her body. The others waited in the clearing. Jared wore similar shift-ready clothes. Norman and Todd stood beside him carrying packs filled with equipment Eva did not recognize. Stephanie remained slightly apart, resolved but troubled. Ready? Jared asked when Eva approached. No, she answered honestly, but I came. That is enough. Jared faced the pack. Stephanie, command remains with you. If Elmer or any northern shifter enters our land, avoid engagement unless there is no alternative. Contact us immediately. Understood. Then Stephanie surprised Eva by gripping her shoulder. Both of you return alive. That is our intention, Eva said, attempting confidence. Jared motioned toward the forest. Eva, Jared, Norman, and Todd entered the trees, while the sky slowly changed from black to gray and then to pale gold. How deeply are we going? Eva asked as they traveled. Far enough that the wall between worlds becomes thin, Jared explained. Magic is strongest in the deep veil, and impossible things become ordinary. It is also home to the most dangerous creatures, beings trapped between forms, spirits older than human civilization, and predators beside which natural wolves seem harmless. Comforting, Eva muttered. Comfort is not the purpose, Norman replied behind her. Preparation is. The deep veil is equally beautiful and terrible. Respect it, or it will destroy you. They continued for hours while the forest gradually changed. Trees grew taller and wider, branches twisted into shapes that could not exist in the ordinary world. The air thickened with an electric pressure that tingled over Eva's skin. Colors became deeper, sounds sharper, and beneath everything vibrated a steady hum, as if the world itself were singing. That is the voice of the veil, Todd explained. Every shifter experiences it differently. To me, it sounds like layered music that never repeats. Others hear a heartbeat or whisper. What do you hear? Eva listened carefully. Running water, wind passing through leaves, and something underneath both that I cannot name. Your wolf, Jared said. The part of you belonging to this place is calling you farther inside. Eva shivered, although sunlight warmed the canopy. Her wolf responded with growing excitement. It sensed freedom approaching. Around midday, they entered a clearing that looked taken from a fairy tale. The grass glowed impossibly green, scattered with faintly luminous flowers. A clear stream crossed the center, every stone visible beneath the water. The humming had grown loud enough to compete with ordinary sound. This is a nexus, Jared explained. Power gathers here. Transformation will be easier, but also more dangerous. If you lose focus, the magic may take control. Wonderful, Eva said weakly. Norman and Todd opened their packs and arranged water, medical tools, rope, and several objects that shone like the flowers. Containment equipment, Todd said when he noticed her stare. If you transform and cannot return, these tools allow us to restrain you without serious injury until Rebecca can force the change. And if I become feral? Eva asked. We subdue you, Norman answered without emotion. Without killing you if possible. But pack safety comes first. That is why 4 of us came. Someone may need to pull Jared away if his protective instincts prevent him from doing what is necessary. Their calm discussion of injuring or killing her turned Eva's stomach, but she understood. A wolf without human control would be more dangerous than any ordinary predator. How does this begin? She asked, concentrating on practical steps instead of terror. Do I meditate until my body changes? Not exactly. Jared pointed toward the thick forest at the far end of the clearing. In 15 minutes, Norman releases something among those trees. It will hunt you. Your task is to remain alive until transformation becomes necessary and you can fight back. Eva went cold. What creature? A rendered beast, Norman said. Part wolf, part bear, and part something much older. It possesses no true mind, only hunger and instinct. It cannot kill you immediately, but it can injure you badly enough that your body must transform. So your plan is to release a monster and hope I change before it tears me apart. Eva's voice rose. That is how many first shifts begin, Todd told her gently. Every shifter remembers the danger that forced the body to choose. Mine was a fall from a cliff. Jimmy was attacked by a rogue wolf. The body rarely changes until the human shape means certain death. Eva looked at Jared. Do you truly believe this will work? His gaze remained steady. I believe you can survive. When the moment arrives, instinct should lead you. But I cannot promise success. I cannot promise that you will avoid injury. I promise only that we will watch and intervene before failure becomes irreversible. Eva wanted to scream, flee to the den house, and hide until every impossible danger disappeared. That option no longer existed. In less than 30 hours, Elmer would force the transformation without giving her any control. This hunt, however terrible, offered a choice and a chance. All right, she said, trembling but determined. Begin. Norman walked toward the trees and removed a cage woven from branches and glowing rope. Something large thrashed within it. When the cage opens, run. Norman instructed. Never turn back. Do not attempt to fight while human. Let fear awaken your instincts. When the creature reaches you, and death becomes the only alternative, surrender to the wolf. Trust her. Eva nodded, because speech had failed. She moved to the clearing's edge with every muscle tight and her heart beating painfully. Behind her, the cage opened. A snarl blended wolf, bear, and nightmare into one sound. Norman shouted, "Run now!" Eva ran. She had never moved with such speed. Branches cut her skin, and roots reached for her ankles as she crashed through the undergrowth. Behind her came heavy impacts and snarling breath, quickly closing the distance. Shift, shift now. Her mind screamed the command before the beast reached her. Her body did not understand how. She had touched the wolf repeatedly, but no amount of meditation had taught her how to begin the physical change. Eva looked behind her and immediately regretted it. The rendered beast was as large as a small car, with a bear's mass and a wolf's speed. Red light burned in its eyes. Its mouth contained enough teeth to tear her apart within seconds. Eva forced more speed from her legs while her lungs burned. Hot breath reached her back. Its foul scent filled her nose. Then she realized that it was playing with her. The creature could already have caught her, but it wanted the chase to continue. Her foot struck a root. Eva fell hard, and the impact emptied her lungs. Before she could rise, the beast pinned both shoulders beneath enormous paws. Claws entered her skin. Its mouth descended toward her throat. Eva understood with perfect clarity that she had reached the final moment. Shift now, or die. Something fierce, wild, and completely inhuman awakened inside her. Then shift. Pain consumed the world. Every bone seemed to break at once. Pieces ground together while they rearranged. Muscles tore, stretched, shortened, and grew again. Fire traveled across her skin as fur erupted through it. Eva screamed, but the sound leaving her throat was neither human nor wolf. The terrible hybrid cry echoed among the trees. The rendered beast recoiled in confusion. That hesitation kept Eva alive. Suddenly, she was no longer trapped beneath it. Ji had become larger and stronger, moving with speed and balance no human body could possess. Eva rolled beyond the claws and rose on 4 legs. 4 legs felt both strange and more natural than anything she had ever known. I did it, one remaining human thought whispered. I am changing. I am actually... The beast attacked, and thought vanished. There was no space for wonder, fear, or doubt. Only instinct remained. Evade, turn, watch, bite when the throat opens. Eva's wolf fought as if she had practiced for 1,000 lifetimes. Every motion was precise and guided by knowledge older than language. When the beast lunged, Eva had already moved. When it exposed its side, her teeth tore through fur and muscle. The fight lasted perhaps 3 minutes, but time became both endless and instant. Then Norman arrived in his bear shape and placed his enormous body between Eva and the creature. His roar shook the forest. The rendered beast retreated from prey now claimed by something stronger. Eva's wolf wanted pursuit. It wanted to finish the hunt. Jared stepped forward in human form, both hands raised in a sign that meant peace, safety, and pack. Eva. Alpha authority carried his voice through instinct. The fight is finished. You won. Now return. The command meant nothing to the wolf. This shape felt true. This was power and freedom. This was Eva Thompson. You are also human, Jared said more sharply. You possess a human name, a human life, and human memories. Find them. Use them. Come back to me. The wolf resisted. It did not want to surrender this strength. A quiet voice remained beneath the animal instinct. You are more than one form. You are human and wolf. You do not need to destroy either one. Eva finally understood. Transformation was not becoming something else. It was accepting every part of herself, wild and civilized, powerful and vulnerable, without forcing one side to disappear. Let go, Rebecca's remembered voice whispered. Trust the body. Eva surrendered. The return hurt even more than the first change. Bones broke and reformed in reverse. Muscles compressed while fur withdrew beneath burning skin. Her awareness divided between animal instinct and human thought through every second. At last, she lay human upon the forest floor, naked and shaking, covered in both her blood and the beast's. She could barely breathe or remain conscious. Jared reached her immediately. He wrapped a blanket around her and searched for serious wounds. "You did it," he said, pride and relief filling his voice. "You transformed and returned. Do you understand what that means?" "It means I did not die," Eva managed through a raw throat. Dying would have been unpleasant. Todd laughed with genuine delight. "She is making jokes. That is encouraging." Jared continued checking her. "Are you injured? Anything broken?" "Everything hurts, but nothing feels seriously damaged." Norman approached after returning to human form. Fierce pride brightened his face. "That is normal after a first shift. You were magnificent, Eva. Most first-timers freeze or lose control. You fought as if the wolf had trained all your life." It felt, Eva searched for language, terrifying, impossible, and agonizing. But it also felt right, as though I had waited my whole life to do it. "You have," Jared said softly. "Your wolf waited for you to release the fear and open the door. Now that you have transformed and returned, everything changes." Eva wanted to answer and celebrate, but exhaustion dragged her downward. Her eyes closed. "Sleep," Jared ordered. "We will guard you. When you wake, you will learn to shift again, consciously and with control. For now, rest. You earned it." Eva dreamed of running through ancient forests upon 4 legs, hunting beneath open skies, and finally claiming the power that had always belonged to her. Hours later, she woke near sunset beside a small fire surrounded by the pack. Her body still ached, but the pain promised healing rather than damage. Terry offered water and roasted meat. "How do you feel?" "As though a truck struck me," Eva answered, "but also stronger. Something trapped inside me finally escaped." "That is exactly what happened," Jared said from across the fire. His amber gaze remained fixed on her. "You completed a full shift cycle. You are now an awakened shifter, no longer dormant, and no longer transitioning." The truth settled slowly. Eva had truly become one of them. Everything she had feared and resisted was complete and irreversible. Yet instead of imprisonment, it felt like freedom. "What happens next?" she asked. Jared smiled fiercely. "We make you do it again and again until transformation becomes as natural as breathing. You will learn enough control that when Elmer tries to force a shift, you can resist him. You choose your form. He does not." "How much time remains?" Todd checked his watch. 26 hours before the binding breaker stone reaches full strength. The council has also learned that Elmer accelerated his plans. He may strike sooner if an opportunity appears. "Then we cannot waste time." Eva stood despite the protest of every muscle. "Teach me everything." Jared rose, and the others followed. They formed a protective circle around her. "First lesson," Jared said. "Every shift begins inside the mind. Close your eyes and find your wolf." Eva obeyed. This time, when she entered the inner forest, she felt no fear and no hesitation. The wolf welcomed her with recognition. They were not enemies or separate lives. They were 2 forms of the same whole. Eva shifted. Pain remained, and the force of change still overwhelmed her, but Eva stayed conscious through every breaking bone, reshaping muscle, and sharpened sense. When she stood upon 4 legs, dizzy and panting, she could think. She understood human speech and recognized every pack member as family, rather than threat. "Again," Jared commanded. "Return." Eva shifted back. The pain was already less severe, and the movement between forms became smoother. They practiced throughout the night. Transformation after transformation, Eva learned to hold the wolf shape while preserving human thought. By the time she smelled dawn approaching, she knew she could face what waited. 24 hours remained before Elmer's move. But Eva Thompson, waitress, survivor, and awakened wolf, had finished running from danger. Now she would fight. Chapter 10. The Heart's Choice. They returned to the den house at dawn, and Eva sensed trouble before anyone spoke. The entire pack surrounded the main building in a defensive formation. Some carried modern weapons. Others held blades and staffs that looked ancient enough to belong in legends. Stephanie commanded from the center with a grim expression. Relief crossed her face when Jared and the others emerged from the trees. Thank God. She hurried toward them. We have a situation. Elmer? Jared asked, instantly becoming the alpha responsible for his territory. Worse, Stephanie replied. The council. They arrived 3 hours ago with a complete enforcement team. They demand to question both you and Eva immediately, and Elmer came with them. He has filed a formal grievance under treaty law. Eva's stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means, answered a smooth, unwelcome voice, that the council will hear my case and decide whether Jared Eastman violated territorial law by sheltering stolen property, specifically, you. Elmer Kerr stepped out of the den house in expensive clothes that remained immaculate despite the forest. 3 strangers followed him, 2 men and 1 woman, each carrying enough authority that even Jared's posture changed slightly. They could only be council representatives. Eva Thompson, the woman said. Power rang beneath every word. She was tall, elegant, and silver-haired, with eyes that changed from blue to green to amber while Eva watched. I am Winnie Mackenzie, speaker for the North American Shifter Council. These are Israel Hages and Brad North. We have come to judge the dispute between Riverside and the Northern Pack regarding your allegiance and legal status. I have chosen no allegiance, Eva replied, keeping her voice steady. The treaty still grants me time. Time Jared Eastman used to complete your transformation in violation of council procedure, Elmer interrupted. The law requires shifters of uncertain lineage to be evaluated before a first shift, so the council can determine proper placement. Jared took Eva into the deep veil and forced her transformation without approval. I forced nothing, Jared answered with dangerous calm. Eva shifted during a life-threatening emergency. Treaty provisions permit that. An emergency you deliberately created, Elmer countered. You placed her against a lethal creature to avoid council authority. That is manipulation. Enough. Winnie raised one hand. Every argument ended beneath the force of her command. We will examine evidence, hear each party, and issue judgment. Until then, both packs will stand down. This land is temporarily neutral under council protection. Violence will bring immediate sanctions. Winnie's shifting eyes settled upon Eva, making her feel exposed to the bone. Miss Thompson, come with us. We have questions concerning your grandmother, your awakening, and every choice that brought you here. I want Jared present during the questioning, Eva said, lifting her chin. As my alpha. I am not your alpha, Jared reminded her quietly. You have sworn loyalty to no pack. The words hurt, but Eva understood the strategy. If Jared claimed her now, Elmer could accuse him of influencing the choice before council judgment. Neutrality protected them, even if it meant Eva entered alone. I will manage, she told Jared, hoping she sounded convincing. Concern remained in his face, but he nodded. I trust you. The council had taken over Jared's office and transformed the familiar room into something severe and official. Winnie sat behind the desk. Israel and Brad stood on either side of her like guards. Eva was placed in the center where all 3 could study her from separate angles. We begin with Ernestine Whitaker, Winnie said. Born to the Northern Pack in 1943, a gifted shifter from a powerful line. In 1965, she abandoned her pack for a human man. What did she tell you about that history? Nothing, Eva said. Until last week, I believed she had always been human. She never spoke of the Veil, the Northern Pack, or shifters. Convenient, Brad muttered. He was solidly built, with scarred knuckles, a repeatedly broken nose, and eyes that missed little. It is true, Eva insisted. My grandmother raised me after my mother died. She sewed clothing for a living and kept to herself. I never saw anything suggesting she was more than human. If she carried secrets, she hid them completely. Yet she placed the compass in your hands, Israel said. He looked younger than the others, perhaps in his 30s, with dark skin and eyes glowing faintly gold. One of only 3 keys to the heart of the veil is not a casual keepsake. She said it would protect me. She promised that while I wore it, I would always find my way home. I believed she was being sentimental. The compass is a guardian token, Winnie explained. It passes through bloodlines selected to protect the heart. By giving it to you, Ernestine named you as successor, whether or not she consciously intended that result. I am not a guardian, Eva objected. I hardly know what the heart is. Winnie's voice became instructional. The heart is the source of shifter magic and the point at which our world touches the human one. It is where the impossible becomes possible. The veil chooses 3 guardians to prevent misuse of that power. Each carries a compass capable of locating and opening the heart, and Elmer wants that access, Eva said bitterly. Elmer wants what he considers the Northern Pack's rightful possession, Winnie corrected. When Ernestine departed, she removed not only herself, but also a guardian bond. The Northern Pack lost one of its 3 connections to the heart. For 6 decades, its access and territorial strength have remained diminished. Elmer believes reclaiming you will restore what your grandmother removed. I am not an object to reclaim, Eva said as anger warmed her voice. And Ernestine stole nothing. She chose her own life, a choice that harmed others, Brad said bluntly. Your grandmother placed personal happiness before duty to the pack that protected and raised her. You now inherit the cost of that selfishness. The accusation struck because some truth existed beneath its cruelty. Ernestine's decision had affected people Eva had never met. It had created consequences that reached across 60 years. None of it was fair. But fairness had rarely guided Eva's life. What does the council require from me? She asked. What choice ends this dispute? The representatives exchanged a silent look. There are 3 paths, Winnie said. First, you may voluntarily join the Northern Pack, swear allegiance to Elmer, accept his authority, and help restore the guardian connection his territory lost. That would satisfy treaty law and end every grievance. It would make me his prisoner, Eva said. Elmer would decide how and when I touched the heart. He could turn me into a weapon. Winnie continued as if Eva had not interrupted. Second, you may permanently renounce your shifter nature. Council healers can bind your wolf beyond recovery. You would live entirely as a human, surrender the compass, and abandon all guardian claims. Both packs would then be ordered to leave you alone. And I would spend my life knowing part of me had been buried alive, Eva said, remembering Stephanie's warning. I would dream of the wolf and forever feel incomplete. That is not freedom. It is another prison. Then there is the third path, Winnie said gravely. You may undertake the trial of the heart. You will enter the heart of the veil, confront the tests it chooses, and allow it to judge whether you deserve guardian status. Success grants your grandmother's legacy and legal independence. No pack could command your allegiance. Winnie paused. Most who fail do not survive. The office became silent enough for Eva to hear her heartbeat. What are the tests? No one knows before entering, Israel answered. The heart shapes a different trial for every candidate, based upon strengths and weaknesses. Some endure physical combat. Others face questions of wisdom or judgment. Every candidate must confront the deepest fear within them. If I accept the trial, what happens to Jared's death challenge? Eva asked. It is delayed until the trial ends, Winnie said. If you succeed, the challenge loses all legal basis, because guardians stand outside pack hierarchy. If you fail and die, there is no person left to claim. How reassuring, Eva muttered. There is another consequence, Brad said seriously. Success binds you to the heart in ways you cannot yet understand. Your aging will slow beyond that of ordinary shifters. You may live for centuries, compelled to protect the heart before every other concern, including your happiness and the happiness of those you love. Your grandmother escaped that destiny by surrendering her power. If you accept it, no second escape exists. The decision suddenly reached far beyond surviving Elmer or choosing a pack. Eva might be defining centuries of life. How long do I have to decide? Now, Winnie answered. The council has other disputes, and Elmer has waited long enough. Choose, Eva Thompson. Choose your fate. Eva closed her eyes. Joining Elmer meant life under control. Suppressing her wolf meant living as half of herself. The heart offered possible freedom, but failure meant death. She imagined Ernestine not as the elderly woman who had raised her, but as a young wolf running through a forest that sang her name. Then she imagined her grandmother willingly surrendering that power for love and family. The compass points home, Rebecca had told her. Home is where the person you were meets the person you are becoming. Eva opened her eyes. I choose the trial. I will face the heart and accept its judgment. Whether I live or die, the decision will belong to me. That is more choice than my grandmother was given. Approval briefly touched Winnie's face. So be it. The trial begins at sunset. Use the remaining hours to prepare, speak your farewells, and make peace with whatever power you worship. Once you enter, you cannot turn back. The pack waited in the main hall when Eva left Jared's office. Every face carried hope, fear, or resignation. I am taking the trial, Eva announced. It begins tonight. Before anyone argues, understand that this is the only choice allowing me to remain myself. Every other path requires surrendering part of who I am or accepting someone else's control. The trial can kill you, Stephanie said, worry sharpening her voice. Most candidates do not survive. Most candidates are not Ernestine Whitaker's granddaughter, Eva replied. And I am no longer most people. I survived poverty, violence, a forced awakening, and learned to shift in 4 days. I can survive this. Those dangers attacked the body, Jared said from the edge of the group as he moved toward her. The heart reaches deeper. It will expose your soul, every fear, every weakness, and every truth you buried, because you never wished to see it. Then it will force you to face all of them. Eva held his gaze. Then, I will face them. What else can I choose? Elmer's control? The burial of my wolf? Those are different forms of surrender. And death is preferable? Stephanie demanded. Living as myself for one honest day is better than existing for years inside another person's cage, Eva said. Ernestine sacrificed everything so I could possess choices. I refuse to answer that gift by selecting a safe prison instead of dangerous freedom. Jared stared at her, then smiled with fierce pride and an emotion Eva could not yet name. You truly are her granddaughter. She would be proud. Or she would call me foolish for choosing the most dangerous answer. Both things may be true, Todd offered. Ernestine was known for decisions that were simultaneously brave and incredibly foolish. Apparently the trait is hereditary. Eva laughed despite herself. That is very comforting. Rebecca moved to her side. We have 8 hours. It is little time, but enough for necessary preparation. Come with me. She guided Eva into the healing room, where supplies covered the bed. There was a leather pack, bottles of luminous liquid, cloth strips marked with symbols, and a knife whose blade seemed to consume light. Standard equipment for the trial, Rebecca said. The water prevents dehydration, regardless of how long you remain inside. The bandages treat minor injuries. The knife is obsidian forged within the veil. It can cut magical barriers and creatures untouched by normal weapons. Eva studied Rebecca's distant expression. You have prepared someone for this before. Once, 23 years ago. His name was Gary Olson. He believed guardian power would allow him to unite every pack beneath his leadership. Gary was skilled, strong, and certain. Everyone believed he would succeed. Rebecca paused. 3 days later, they found his body outside the heart's entrance. He carried no wound, no injury. His heart had simply stopped from fear. A chill moved down Eva's back. This is meant to reassure me? Rebecca gave a thin smile. It is meant to prepare you. The heart rarely kills with physical force. It kills with truth, especially truths a candidate cannot accept. Gary possessed strength, but arrogance convinced him of his own goodness. The heart showed him what existed beneath the heroic image, and he could not survive seeing it. Then I must know myself, Eva said. I must be honest about fear and weakness. Knowledge is not enough, Rebecca corrected. You must willingly experience what you know. I know I fear losing those I love. Actually living through that loss and enduring it is different. Rebecca placed the obsidian knife in Eva's hand. Ernestine carried this blade. Before leaving the northern pack, she carved her mark into the heart's door with it. I kept it in case her line ever needed it again. Now it belongs to you. Eva closed her fingers around history made solid. Did she ever regret surrendering the guardian connection? Never. She once told me that some people protect the entire world, while others protect one person with all the love they possess. She chose the second life and never doubted it, even after paying everything. I have no person to protect, Eva said. No family, no love, not even a permanent home. What do I possess worth fighting for? Rebecca gripped her shoulders and held her gaze. Yourself. Your freedom. Your choices. Your right to exist without asking permission or apologizing. Those are worth fighting for, and if necessary, worth dying for. A knock sounded. Jared entered with a troubled expression. Elmer requested a private audience before the trial. The council has approved it. Eva's jaw tightened. Must I agree? No. He claims he possesses information you need before entering. Eva wanted to refuse and use her remaining hours with people who cared for her. Yet instinct warned that Elmer's words might matter. Fine. Jared and Rebecca remain with me. I will not face him alone. They met in the clearing while the council watched from a distance. Elmer stood in the center, composed and predatory, his pale eyes following every step Eva took. Eva. He inclined his head with a gesture that might have been respect or mockery. Thank you for coming. What do you want? She asked. To give you a truth Jared's pack has avoided. Do you want to know how Ernestine conceived despite suppression magic? Why her powers reached you when they should have ended with her? Eva's pulse accelerated. I am listening. Before Ernestine left the northern pack and drank the potion, she went to the heart and made a bargain with the veil. She offered her guardian bond in exchange for the ability to pass her bloodline into future descendants. Even if she surrendered power, someone would carry the legacy. That is a lie, Jared said sharply. The veil does not bargain. Elmer's smile became razor thin. Then explain, Eva. Suppression should have prevented conception, yet Ernestine bore a daughter who later bore another. 2 generations of impossibility began with one woman who claimed to have surrendered everything. Why tell me? Eva demanded, anger and fear battling inside her. Because the heart remembers the agreement and the price Ernestine refused to pay. When you enter, it will collect that price from you. Elmer stepped closer. Your grandmother escaped her obligations. You may not. You are trying to frighten me away from the trial so you can claim me. Eva's voice trembled, but she held his gaze. I am trying to save your life, Elmer said, and for the first time he appeared almost sincere. I am ruthless, ambitious, and willing to commit terrible acts for my goals. But I do not wish to watch Ernestine's granddaughter die for Ernestine's debt. Then withdraw the challenge. Leave me free to choose without northern interference. I cannot. My pack requires restoration of the guardian bond. Ernestine's decision weakened us for 6 decades. If you refuse voluntary allegiance, we must reclaim you through force. Then nothing has changed, Eva said coldly. I would rather die before the heart than survive as your prisoner. Elmer studied her, then slowly nodded. Ernestine said almost the same thing the night before leaving. When I begged her to remain, she said some cages are so beautiful that you notice the bars only when you attempt to fly. She preferred death in flight to comfort in chains. He turned away, then looked back. For whatever it is worth, Eva Thompson, I hope you survive. I hope you claim everything Ernestine was meant to become, not for me or the Northern Pack, but for yourself. You deserved better than the life given to you. Then he disappeared into the forest shadows. He is lying, Jared said at once. He wants to break your confidence. Eva looked toward the place Elmer had vanished. What if the bargain was real? What if my birth, my awakening, and every event of this week are only the veil collecting a debt 60 years late? Then you confront it, Rebecca replied firmly. You enter, face every challenge, and survive. That is what Whitakers do. We walk into impossible odds and return. How can you know? Because I knew 3 generations of your family. Every one of you was stubborn, brave, and far too proud to surrender when any reasonable person would have stopped. That is your true inheritance. Not a compass, guardian magic, or an old bargain. Your inheritance is survival when survival should be impossible. Eva wanted certainty. As the sun sank, she found only terror. The trial was approaching, and she still did not know whether strength would be enough. Sunset arrived too quickly. The council led Eva deep within the vale to a grove, where trees formed perfect circles around a stone arch. The arch seemed to exist in several dimensions at once, and staring directly at it caused pain behind her eyes. This is the heart's entrance, Winnie said solemnly. The trial begins when you pass through. You may leave only through success or failure. Time behaves differently inside. Hours to you may become days to us. We will keep vigil, but we cannot assist. This journey belongs to you. Eva nodded because her throat would not form words. The pack waited behind her. Jared, Rebecca, Terry, Todd, Norman, and every person who had become family in a few impossible days. They could not enter, but their presence made the fear bearable. Any final advice? Eva asked Winnie. The heart judges truth rather than strength. Be honest about both virtue and failure. The only way out is through. Do not flee the trial or search for an escape. Meet each challenge directly. Comforting, Eva muttered. She faced the pack one final time. Jared crossed the space and pulled her into his arms without warning. Come back, he said, emotion roughening his voice. Whatever waits inside, remember that people are waiting here. A pack chose you. A family wants you. Do not surrender them. Tears burned Eva's eyes. I will come back. The others approached one by one. Terry pressed a small stone into Eva's palm and whispered that it carried luck. Norman gave a gruff nod, containing more feeling than speech. Todd told her to do nothing he would not do, which permitted almost anything. Stephanie's expression became softer than Eva had ever seen it. Do not prove my doubts correct. I voted for your hunt. Do not make me regret it. I will do my best. There were no preparations left and no further farewells. Eva turned toward the arch, straightened her shoulders, and stepped into the impossible. The world changed the instant she crossed. The forest, pack, and familiar vale disappeared. Eva stood inside a chamber seemingly carved from crystal or ice. Light glowed within every wall, and the ceiling vanished into darkness far above. Suspended in the center was an actual heart larger than a house. It beat slowly, without visible support. Every pulse traveled through the chamber, the air, and Eva's body. Welcome, granddaughter of Ernestine, said a voice from everywhere and nowhere. You come to claim what she abandoned and pay what she left unpaid. Are you prepared for the cost? I am prepared for whatever you place before me, Eva answered, hoping courage sounded stronger than fear. Then face yourself. The chamber vanished. Eva found herself inside her old studio apartment, wearing the diner uniform while sunset colored Riverside's industrial district beyond the window. The small room smelled of damp walls and exhaustion. This was not real. She had entered the heart. This is a test, Eva said aloud. Is it? The voice asked. Perhaps everything else was the dream. Perhaps you slept after another long shift and imagined magic, shifters, and belonging. Perhaps you never left this apartment. You remain alone, working toward exhaustion for barely enough money to survive. Panic entered Eva's throat. She remembered the attack, Jared, the den, and her wolf. Those events had to be real. Prove it, the heart challenged. Eva suddenly understood. This trial asked for faith, not evidence. She had to choose the impossible, even while doubt offered a familiar lie. I do not need to prove it, she said. I choose to believe it. I am a shifter. A pack waits for me. My life is greater than this apartment, this uniform, and this lonely struggle. Eva closed her eyes and reached for the wolf she had discovered in meditation and become during the hunt. For one terrible moment, nothing answered. The emptiness suggested that everything might truly have been a fantasy. Then her wolf rose within her, fierce and undeniably real. Eva shifted, Familiar pain broke and rebuilt her body. Fur pierced skin, and every sense sharpened. When she opened her eyes, the apartment was gone. She stood upon 4 legs inside the crystal chamber beneath the massive heart. "Well done," the voice said with approval. "You chose truth instead of comfortable falsehood, but truth is only the beginning. Now face fear." The chamber changed again. Eva returned to human form upon the dark road where Travis, Elmer, and Lel had attacked her. The 3 men emerged from shadows with the same cruel smiles. "No," Eva whispered, "not again." "Face what they represent," the heart commanded. "Your fear of helplessness, your fear of becoming prey to those stronger than you. Run, and the fear will follow for the rest of your life." Every instinct urged Eva to transform and tear them apart as a wolf. She refused. She remained human, facing them as the terrified waitress she had once been, rather than hiding behind the strength she now possessed. "I am no longer afraid of you," Eva said, surprised by how close the words were to truth. "You hurt me and nearly ended my life, but you did not break me. Every day afterward made me stronger. You are still weak men who injure others to feel powerful." Travis laughed with the same cold mockery. "Strong. You are nothing but another victim." "Perhaps I was," Eva said. "I am not now. And you are not even real. You are fear-wearing faces I recognize. I do not have to carry you anymore." She walked directly toward him. Travis struck her. Pain spread across her cheek, but Eva neither flinched nor stopped. She stood before him. "You already lost. I survived the worst you could do and became stronger. You possess no power over me." Travis flickered and disappeared. Elmer and Lel dissolved after him into shadow and memory. The road vanished. Eva returned to the crystal chamber, breathing hard but standing. "The second trial is complete," the voice said. "You faced the past and refused to let it define you. One trial remains. The hardest. You must face what you love most and choose to release it." Fear rose instantly. "What does that mean?" The chamber shifted for the final time. Eva stood in the den clearing surrounded by the pack, but every person remained frozen like stone. A woman waited between Eva and them. Eva recognized the woman from old photographs despite having never seen her at that age. Ernestine Whitaker stood young, vibrant, and filled with power. "Hello, Eva," she said in the warm voice Eva had missed every day. "I have waited to meet you." "You are not real," Eva said while tears ran down her face. "You died 3 months ago." "I am a memory," Ernestine agreed. "An echo of a life that ended. That does not make this conversation meaningless." She indicated the motionless pack. "You love them. In only a few days they became your home and family." "Yes." Eva saw no reason to deny it. "The heart requires you to surrender them," Ernestine said softly. "Guardianship demands duty before personal bonds. You will live for centuries while these people age and die. You will watch everyone you love become dust, while you remain bound to a power you protect but never possess." "Is that the existence you want?" Eva's throat tightened. "I do not know. I only know I want the right to choose. I refuse to become property or live beneath another person's expectations." "Then choose," Ernestine said. "Walk away from the pack, the bonds, and the love you have found. Become powerful, eternal, and alone. That is the price. It is the price I could not pay 60 years ago." Eva looked at the frozen faces. Jared had seen her broken, and still believed she possessed strength. Rebecca carried memories of 3 generations. Terry, Todd, Norman, and all the others had risked everything for a woman they barely knew. This was the choice Ernestine had faced. Power against love, duty against happiness, responsibility for the world against the warmth of family. Then Eva understood that the choice itself was false. "You are wrong," she told the echo. "The heart is wrong about what a guardian must surrender. My grandmother abandoned duty entirely because the system allowed no other way to keep love. I do not need to repeat that decision." Eva walked toward the frozen pack and stopped beside Jared. "The council said guardians exist outside pack hierarchy. Independence is not the same as isolation. It means I choose my bonds without becoming subordinate to them. I can guard the heart and still love this pack. I can stand with them as an equal, ally, and family. I do not have to select power or love. I can protect both if I become strong enough. She placed her hand upon Jared's motionless shoulder. Is that your answer? The heart asked, and Eva heard amusement beneath the words. You would change the meaning of guardianship rather than accept its traditional cost? Yes, Eva said. If tradition requires a false choice, I will create another path. I will write rules that permit me to remain whole. That is what Ernestine did. A system demanded that she abandon love for duty, and she refused. She found a third choice. Eva turned toward the enormous heart beating within the chamber. I am not Ernestine. I will not discard duty for love, and I will not discard love for duty. I choose both. If the heart cannot accept that, then I am not meant to guard it. Absolute silence followed. Even the heart seemed to stop between beats. Then laughter filled the chamber, warm, rich, and proud rather than cruel. Ernestine's blood remains true, the voice said, stubborn, rebellious, and unwilling to live within limits established by others. Very well, Eva Thompson. You have completed the trials not by obeying their terms, but by refusing to allow tradition to define you. The frozen pack dissolved into mist. Eva felt loss even knowing none of them were truly there. Ernestine smiled once more as her image faded. Wait, Eva called. Did I pass? You passed. Many voices now spoke together, male and female, young and ancient, forming perfect harmony. The trials never required blind obedience or sacrifice. They required knowledge of yourself and clarity about what you value. You displayed courage, honesty, and wisdom enough to reject a false choice. You are worthy to guard the heart. Light intensified within the crystal chamber. Something opened inside Eva, not with the physical agony of shifting, but with a profound sensation, as though a sealed door had appeared inside her soul. Approach. Eva walked beneath the great heart. From near distance it was clearly not made of flesh. It seemed formed from crystallized light or magic made solid. Every beat released waves of power that moved over and through her, changing things she could not yet identify. Place your hand upon the heart. Accept the bond and become what you were always intended to become. Eva lifted one trembling hand and pressed her palm against the glowing surface. Pain and ecstasy exploded through every nerve. She felt the veil stretching through continents and centuries, connecting every shifter to magic and instinct. Every pack, territory, and living shifter appeared inside her awareness as thousands of flames. Two other presences stood far away yet intimately near, ancient beings who had carried this duty longer than Eva could imagine. Welcome, sister, said a gentle, weary woman's voice. It has been too long since three guardians stood together. A deeper voice answered, carrying the weight of ages. Balance is restored. The Northern Pack's guardian has returned, not the woman who fled, but a successor proven worthy. Eva wanted to answer and ask 1,000 questions, but power poured through her too intensely. Across the distance, she suddenly felt Ernestine's compass in Elmer's possession. It called to her and recognized its true owner. Eva knew exactly where it was, and understood that she could reclaim it whenever she chose. More importantly, she understood the true meaning of guardianship. It was not a sentence of loneliness. It meant standing between the veil and anyone who sought to exploit its power. It meant preserving balance between human and shifter worlds while refusing to lose herself inside the responsibility. The power gradually settled until it became part of her rather than a force crushing her. Eva opened her eyes. She still stood in the crystal chamber, but now she saw every layer of magic woven through the walls and every current of energy flowing like an invisible river. Warmth burned pleasantly over her chest. Looking down, Eva saw a silver compass rose marked upon her skin directly above her heart. You are bound, the voices told her, softer now. Bound to the heart, the veil, and the duty of protection. Yet you are also free. You stand beyond pack hierarchy, territorial politics, and compulsory allegiance. Walk your path wisely. Guardians may live for centuries, but they are not invulnerable. Preserve yourself and every connection you freely choose. Those bonds will sustain you when the work becomes difficult. Thank you, Eva whispered without knowing exactly whom she addressed. Return now, the voices said. Go to those who wait. Show them what you have become and reclaim what was taken. The crystal walls dissolved into light. Eva felt herself drawn backward toward the entrance. For a moment, she resisted, frightened that departure might sever the understanding and power she had just gained. Then Jared's words returned. Come back to us. She had a family waiting. Eva surrendered to the pull and allowed the heart to send her home. She emerged from the archway into chaos. The grove was surrounded by Elmer's pack. At least 30 shifters filled the area. Some stood as wolves or bears, while others remained in dangerous half-forms. The council representatives had positioned themselves between them and Riverside, whose members guarded the entrance in a defensive line. Every movement stopped when Eva stumbled through the arch. Power radiated from her body. Shock spread over every face. The guardian mark glowed visibly through her shirt in the fading light. Impossible, Elmer whispered as he stepped backward. You survived. You actually... I survived, Eva said. Her voice carried more strength than ever before. I faced the heart, proved myself, and claimed Ernestine's legacy. I am now a guardian. Under treaty law, I stand outside all pack hierarchy. Your claim over me is void, Elmer Kerr. No. Elmer's control broke. This was not supposed to happen. You were meant to fail. The heart should have rejected you or killed you. It was never meant to give you everything. But it did, Winnie said, authority ringing across the grove. She moved forward and examined Eva with open interest. The mark is authentic. The heart's power is unmistakable. Eva Thompson holds guardian status through lawful trial and victory. Then Ernestine's debt is settled, Israel added, his gold eyes shining. Her abandonment of duty has been balanced by her granddaughter's acceptance. The Northern Pack's grievance has been satisfied. Satisfied? Elmer roared. I still possess no control over the guardian bond. Eva belongs to no pack and answers to no alpha. How does this restore my territory? It does not, Brad said bluntly. That is not the council's concern. You demanded restoration of guardian status through Whitaker blood. That restoration is complete. Your inability to command the new guardian is your problem. Rage distorted Elmer's face. For one moment, Eva believed he might attack despite the council and treaty. Then he looked directly at her and stopped. Eva felt the new power waiting beneath her skin. She was no longer only a young shifter. She had become something even Elmer could not threaten without consequence. This is not finished, he said when control returned. You remain young and untrained, and today you created an enemy. Remember that, Eva Thompson. I will, Eva replied calmly. You remember that I never chose to become your enemy. I chose freedom. You decided my freedom threatened you. Elmer's jaw tightened. He gave one hard signal, and his pack withdrew into the forest as quickly as it had appeared. Only the scent of fury and defeated ambition remained. The instant they disappeared, Eva's legs failed. Jared caught her before she reached the ground and held her with desperate relief. You are alive, he said roughly. You stubborn, impossible woman. You are alive. I promise to return. Eva managed a weak smile, although there were moments when I was less certain. The Riverside members crowded close, speaking at once, asking questions and expressing relief. Eva tried to answer, but guardian senses made their emotions almost physical. She felt joy, fear, and relief from every person. Give her room, Rebecca ordered, forcing a path through the crowd. One look at Eva made the healer shake her head. She is about to collapse. Trials consume enormous energy, and the guardian bond is overwhelming her nervous system. We returned to the den immediately. I can walk, Eva protested without strength. No, you cannot. Jared lifted her before she could continue. You completed enough impossible tasks today. Allow someone else to carry the weight. Eva wanted to object, but exhaustion had reached beyond anything she had known. She relaxed in Jared's arms and trusted him to take her home. Home. Somewhere during the past week, the den house had become home, just as the strangers inside it had become family. Eva woke in the healing room with sunlight across the windows, and Rebecca beside the bed holding tea. "Welcome back. You slept for 16 hours. Rebecca offered the cup. "How do you feel?" Eva examined herself. Her body held a distant memory of pain, but beneath the exhaustion pulsed a new, warm power like a second heartbeat. "Different," she said. "Reality feels sharper, as though every sound and sensation has been increased. That is the guardian connection. Your senses now exceed even those of ordinary shifters. You will learn to filter the excess, but the first days will be overwhelming." "Wonderful," Eva muttered. The tea tasted impossibly complex. She identified every herb, measured its temperature instinctively, and felt the warmth spread through her body in precise detail. Rebecca became serious. "The council issued its formal ruling while you slept. You are recognized as a guardian, with every right and responsibility attached to that position. Elmer's challenge against Jared is cancelled, and the Northern Pack is forbidden to claim you through force." Relief passed through Eva. "Then it is truly finished. I am free." "Free from compulsory pack duty," Rebecca corrected. "The heart now carries its own obligations. The other guardians want to meet and train you. Threats to the Veil will require intervention. Some conflicts can be judged only by guardians, and certain emergencies will depend upon your powers." So I exchanged one duty for another. Eva felt no resentment. She had selected this path with open eyes. Freedom meant making decisions even when those decisions created consequences. "The difference is autonomy," Rebecca said. "Guardians answer to the heart, not to alphas, packs, or the council. The others will advise, but every final choice is yours." Eva nodded, then asked the question that mattered most. "What about Riverside? Am I still welcome here?" "Are you seriously asking?" Terry called from the doorway. She stood between Todd and Norman, all three smiling. "Guardian status changes nothing. If anything, it makes you a valuable ally. Other packs would kill for that connection. But we would rather you stay because you choose us, not because of political advantage," Todd added quickly. "The family part remains, even if you now possess cosmic powers." "Cosmic powers?" Eva laughed. "That is the name? Would you prefer mystical guardian abilities?" Todd asked innocently. "It takes longer to say. Cosmic powers, then." Warmth entered Eva's chest, unrelated to the tea. "Someone else wants to see you," Norman said more seriously. "He has waited outside since we carried you home." Eva did not need his name. She sensed Jared beyond the door. Guardian awareness revealed his worry, relief, and need to verify that she was truly safe. "Let him enter." The others left, and Jared came in. He looked as though sleep had not touched him since the trial. When his amber eyes found hers, relief became so intense that Eva could almost feel pain from it. "You frightened me," he said. "You entered the heart, and hours passed without any sign that you remained alive. I did not know whether you were dead or lost forever." His voice broke. "I have never known terror like that. Not even at 7 years old, trapped between forms and screaming for help. I am sorry. I did not mean to make you suffer. Never apologize for survival." Jared sat on the bed beside her. "And never apologize for choosing your own path merely because it was dangerous. I am proud of you, Eva. More proud than I can express. I could not have succeeded without you in the pack. You gave me a reason to fight and somewhere to return. That changed everything." Jared took her hand and squeezed it gently. Silence held them for a moment. "What happens now?" he asked. "Guardians normally travel between territories and remain neutral, but I hope—" He struggled for words. "I hope you remain here, at least for a while. Use the den as your base, perhaps even as a permanent home." "I would like that." Relief washed through Eva. She had feared that guardian independence might require leaving the family she had just found. "Provided you truly want a guardian living underfoot. We apparently have a reputation for being difficult and stubborn." "You cannot be worse than Stephanie," They laughed. The sound faded into comfortable quiet, while Jared's thumb traced small circles over Eva's hand. She became acutely aware of his warmth and of the complicated emotions visible through both pack bonds and guardian senses. Jared, may I ask something? Anything. When you found me dying on the road, did you save me only because of Ernestine's debt? Or was there another reason? Jared's expression shifted. At first, it was the debt. I heard your scream, recognized the bloodline, and knew I had to reach you before anyone else. Then I found you. Your eyes looked exactly like Ernestine's, and you thanked me as though simply not dying alone was more kindness than you expected. Something changed. It stopped being about old honor. It became about you, and the belief that you deserved better than the life the world had given you. And now? Eva asked softly. Now it is about your intelligence, your stubbornness, and courage beyond reason. You challenged every belief I held about duty and sacrifice. It is about... He stopped. Eva, I am your alpha. Even though guardian law places you outside hierarchy, you are connected to Riverside. Anything beyond friendship creates questions about authority and boundaries. But, Eva prompted, sensing the rest. But you have never allowed complication to stop you. A small smile reached Jared's mouth. When you have settled into guardian life and decided what you want, if that future includes something beyond alpha and pack member, beyond protector and protected, I will wait. For however long you need. It was confession, promise, and question within the same words. Even exhausted and overwhelmed by new power, Eva's answer felt simple. I do not need years to know what I want. I spent my entire life alone, convinced invisibility and isolation were all I deserved. You saw me when I had nothing and decided I was worth saving. This pack gave me family after I stopped believing family was possible. When I understand guardian life, and when you stop expecting me to die every time I do something reckless, I want more. I want whatever exists between us to receive a chance to become real. Jared smiled like sunlight emerging after a storm. Then both of us have something waiting ahead. He leaned close and kissed her forehead, chaste, careful, and filled with promise. Rest. Recover. Learn your new responsibilities. When you are ready, we will discover the rest together. The following weeks passed through constant work and adjustment. The other two guardians came to begin Eva's instruction. Jacqueline Rios had served for 300 years and possessed extraordinary patience. Edward Irwin hid a sharp sense of humor beneath a rough manner. They taught Eva how to recognize disturbances, draw upon the heart, and understand the powers and responsibilities of her position. Eva learned that no territory could bar her entry, that packs were required to provide shelter and aid when requested, and that guardian authority allowed her to settle disputes or enforce treaty law when necessary. The role also demanded sacrifice. Privacy became difficult, and she could never fully silence the veil's presence. Yet unexpected gifts accompanied the burden. Her body healed even faster. She could sense danger or distress affecting pack members across great distances. Most surprisingly, she could communicate with the heart through impressions and emotions. It did not speak in ordinary language, but it guided her toward threats and helped shape difficult decisions. Riverside adjusted quickly to a guardian living among them. Stephanie remained cautious but respectful. Todd declared Eva his favorite person after she used guardian authority to resolve a territorial disagreement that had lasted for months. Norman made himself responsible for her combat training, determined that she could answer both magical and physical threats. Jared watched with pride, affection, and an attraction he barely concealed. Every time their eyes met, Eva's heart reacted. 1 month after the trial, Eva stood in the clearing behind the den and summoned her compass. Jacqueline had taught her that guardians could call their tokens across any distance because the heart overruled ordinary space. The air shimmered. Silver appeared in Eva's palm, warm and familiar. Someone, probably Elmer, had repaired the broken chain while hoping to use the token. The compass now answered only its true guardian. Eva fastened it around her neck. It rested over the silver mark above her heart. combining Ernestine's legacy with Eva's own achievement. It represented every danger she had survived, and every part of herself she had chosen to become. "It belongs there," Jared said behind her. Eva turned. 1 month had allowed her to control the new powers, accept a place within the pack, and prove that she could fulfill guardian duties. She was ready. "Walk with me?" Eva held out her hand. Jared took it immediately, warm fingers closing through hers. They followed paths she now knew until reaching a quiet clearing Eva had discovered during meditation. The den and curious eyes were far enough away. "I have been considering what you said," Eva began, "about waiting until I understood myself and knew what I wanted." "And?" Jared asked with careful neutrality, although hope moved through his eyes. "I know now. I am Eva Thompson. I was a waitress, then became a shifter, and now I guard the heart. I am stubborn, independent, and still terrible at accepting help. I belong to Riverside because I choose it, never because duty requires it." She stepped closer. "And I choose to discover where this goes. Whatever exists between us, no more waiting or careful distance. We work it out together." Jared cupped her face. His touch was gentle, but his gaze held fierce intensity. "Are you certain? Once we cross this boundary, there is no simple return. Pack bonds are already powerful. What I feel for you extends beyond pack. If we begin, I give everything for as long as you will accept me." "Good." Eva rose onto her toes. "Because I intend to keep you for a very long time. Guardians can live for centuries, and I refuse to spend those centuries alone." Jared laughed softly with pure joy. "Then you are trapped with me." He kissed her, no longer careful or chaste, but deep, claiming, and full of promise. Eva wrapped her arms around his neck, while certainty settled through her bones. When they separated, both breathless, Jared rested his forehead against hers. "Ernestine would be proud of everything you became and every choice you made." Tears burned Eva's eyes for feelings she could not completely name. "I hope she somehow knows that her sacrifice mattered, that I am living the life she made possible." "She knows," Jared said with certainty. "The veil remembers every choice, sacrifice, and act of courage. Ernestine's legacy is not merely the guardian bond or the compass. It is you. You will do extraordinary things with the life she gave you." Eva believed him. For the first time since the nightmare began, her future felt certain. It would never be easy. Guardian duty would sometimes take her far from home, and new dangers would always exist. People like Elmer would continue resenting her independence and power, but Eva would meet those dangers surrounded by pack, protected by love, and strengthened by everything survival had taught her. She was Eva Thompson, survivor, shifter, guardian, and at last, completely free. Epilogue. 6 months later, Eva stood at the edge of Riverside territory and watched the sun descend beyond the city. From that distance, she could see the industrial district where she had once walked alone every night, frightened but unable to afford another way home. She could see the diner where endless shifts had barely paid enough to survive, and the road where 3 men had beaten her and left her beneath the stars. Those memories seemed to belong to another lifetime and another woman. In many ways, they did. Behind Eva, warm light filled the den house, and the voices of the pack gathered for dinner traveled through the trees. She felt Jared's steady presence through bonds that had deepened over the passing months. She sensed Terry and Todd arguing over something meaningless, Norman laughing at a remark from Rebecca, and even Stephanie's reluctant affection hidden beneath her constant practical concern. They were Eva's family, not assigned by blood or obligation, but chosen through trust and dangers survived together. Her fingers touched the silver compass at her neck. The guardian bond responded with familiar warmth. Tomorrow, she would leave Riverside for several weeks. The other guardians needed her assistance with a disturbance on the East Coast. It would be Eva's first mission alone, and the first true test of her ability to serve independently. Nervousness remained, but excitement lived beside it. She was ready to prove herself and use her power for something greater than remaining alive. Tonight, however, she was simply Eva, a Riverside Pack member, Jared's partner, a friend to those who had risked everything when she was only a frightened waitress carrying dormant magic. "Eva," Terry called from the house. "Dinner is ready. If you do not come now, Todd will eat your portion." "No, I will not," Todd shouted in protest. Then he added, "Probably." Eva smiled as warmth spread through her. This was home. This was belonging. This was everything she had searched for without understanding what was missing. She touched the compass once more and remembered Ernestine. Her grandmother was not truly inside the silver, but memory made her presence feel close. The token reminded Eva of the woman who had surrendered everything so her granddaughter might someday possess a choice. "Thank you, Gran," Eva whispered into the evening wind. "For everything. I promise that I will make it matter." Then Eva turned toward the den house, toward light, warmth, and the love waiting behind its doors. She walked toward the family that had chosen her, and the future she had earned through courage, determination, and refusal to accept every limit others tried to place upon her. Eva Thompson had once been attacked by robbers and abandoned to die. A bear had rescued her and revealed himself as an alpha. Her hidden blood had awakened, and she had become more than she had ever believed possible. Eva was now a shifter, a guardian, a survivor who had learned to fight, and her true story was only beginning.